And we are live, everyone. Talk about some things today. Um, some interesting stuff to do with opioids, withdrawal, addiction, and things of that nature. And I'm making this. This is going to be my last video series I'm going to do on this platform. Um, Obviously, I've had issues with struggling on whether or not to leave this platform because of what I've suffered and experienced. I'm not going to allow that to necessarily run me rampant off, but I am going to end it, so to speak, concerning being active on here. Once I get done with this video series and I get at the end of my taper, I want to document it for others. I want to tell as much as things as I want to share and talk about concerning it and the YouTube stuff, and then I plan to just quit. I mean, I'll keep the channel up, but I don't plan on doing any more future work. I think I may not even complete the project I was going to do about the Netflix documentary I watched, which is unfortunate because I got a lot of screenshots, quality good shots together, and planning on getting clips and doing a good series on it. David Koresh was crazy, obviously, unhinged, fanatic, cult leader. But a lot of there's a lot of things on both sides. There's a lot of things that could have been done differently. Communication was almost virtually non-existent between the two teams that were working on that stuff, the two federal teams. Holy shit! I can't believe this. Now we're gonna check this out. This is some news. Dry Socket Monday. No, JM. Now you're not allowed over here. You and Scooter tricked me to get me on there to make that spectacle the other day. I'm blocking you, and I have um, and Books for Moses. I was never impersonating you. If you're out there, I just seen some of the fucking things. That was an old account I set up back when I was on Gene Team. I haven't even used the fucking thing. It has no videos, to my knowledge, no community post, and not any comments, unless something I may have said in the old live a long time ago. That's it. So unless you got the actual account and can prove that, then shut the fuck up because I'm telling you the truth. No, I won't be having to. It it's not impersonating me. I'm not using your image to spread hate. And you know what? People take my image all the time. So if you want to complain, sue me, go ahead. I got some suing to do too. I'm not even actively using that account. And get over it. And I was on JM's the other day and tried to take it off. And as you can see, it would not delete. I can't fake something like that. Probably the only way to get rid of the account completely would be if I deleted my whole YouTube account, the main account. But what I did do was I changed the name, and what I'll even do for you, Books, only for Books, not for anyone else, because I don't even believe that's Books in here this early. But let's just say that it is. I'll change the picture to the fucking picture of filthy fucking Kyle at the Gorilla Zoo. How about that? And JM, don't act like you're concerned about my health. You're not. And it's sad that as a medical professional, you are somebody that's on here to antagonize and not try to, give me any support or advice or anything when it comes to what I'm going through and trying to do. No, just down me. That's makes me have a lot of faith in the fact that you're a medical professional, quote unquote. Well, if you can be that type of medical professional, then I can certainly be a medical professional myself with my former issues that I no longer have. You know, remember y'all saying, "Oh, we ain't never gonna let you do that." Well, good luck trying to stop it because you won't know whenever I'm gonna be planning to go into that field. I'm okay right now with the low key position I have. Sooner or later, it'd be different. I cannot believe also these people tried to accuse me, and they're trying to get me triggered by saying like, "Oh, you took your oxycodone, da 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 da." Like, number one, no, I haven't. Like, I've been extremely blessed to not have that much pain after the surgery because they did such a great job. Like, I had blood taken from my arm that was used to clot the spots, and I didn't have to use gauze, but only the first day. Since the second day, I haven't I've got a clean spit cup here, and my spit has no blood in it whatsoever. Tomorrow, I can start using. I've already started mildly brushing using chlorhexidine rinse, and then tomorrow I can start irrigating with the chlorhexidine rinse in those pockets from where the bone and dentin and all that stuff's been extracted out. But I have uh, I've got to start laying out what I've got coming up because I've got Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, and come starting on Friday, I've got to start cutting down. Yeah, I've got to start cutting back these dosages of the Suboxone, especially with the. I've got to also take consideration the half life and all that, and yeah, it's going to get more difficult as I'm getting down further because my next goal is to get down to 4 milligrams per day, and I got to kind of accomplish that rather quickly. And then after I get done with that, the most difficult part, which will be going down from 4 milligrams to 3 to 2 and it won't be that exact. It would be 4 to maybe 3 and something, 2 something, 1 something, but and then a half a milligram, But hopefully, I God, I've been praying, and I feel like God is listening to me on some matters. Uh, on other matters, I feel like I'm being told, you figure it out, you know how to do it. But on this taper, like I'm being reassured that all of the little pieces already that I've got stocked up are a good safeguard. I'll get more of those when I start cutting the dosage down more, as an emergency. I have the shorter acting opioid for when I completely run out and have cut off the last dose of Suboxone. That way, if I have any pain from the chronic pain that flares up or and gets worse, or if I have any moderate or what have you withdrawal symptoms, I can take that and I can gate it, and I'll take it exactly as prescribed, which is one every 6 hours as needed. Considering also the fact that I have not been taking that medicine. So I was floored when people just like when that Tracy came in and said, "Oh, you've taken all your da da da." What? Like, do you know what that could do if I were to do that? I don't have the same. Well, forget the Suboxone. Let's just say the Suboxone was already completely out of me. Like, doing that could cause me to actually OD because my tolerance is sort of reset. I've never, it's been years since I've taken any oxycodone. Um, the last short acting opioid I took that was um, while on Suboxone was something that I was prescribed in the hospital. And then another time for some tramadol after a dental procedure, not so major as this dental procedure. That's it. Those are the only times in 4 something years that are those 2 instances. In the hospital, they knew I was on it. They gave me fentanyl for a fall. That was in Massachusetts, and my dentist knew I was on Suboxone. He told me now because he was like he said if you have pain and the stuff that you're regularly taking is not, he said take a few. It was like maybe 16 tramadol, I think that was all, and I never asked for that stuff. Um, it's just not something I learned in rehab. Like there's no need, and the whole purpose of being on MAT and then of course having it replaced and being prescribed off label for my chronic pain, there's no need to take another like that. That would just be falling into addiction if I were to try to stack opioids on top or somehow misuse it. And in 4 years post rehab, I never had but one instance of thinking to abuse to divert and abuse medicine. And that was under one of the worst fucking stress pressures of last year. And these damn people online, the only good thing that came out of that, the only good thing, and they're gonna fucking secretly, because they don't want to admit who did it, but they'll secretly high five and say to each other, see, we helped and saved him. But no, the only thing that did was it prevented me from further de-escalating or from further going down in my mental state. And by being interrupted, it gave me that chance to reflect and like, this is really stupid. I was about to throw all that work I had done away by, just by getting all upset and feeling bad and too sorry. Like that. There's nothing wrong with being upset or what have you, but there is such a thing as, feeling too sorry for yourself. I think people think that I don't know that or believe or understand that concept, but I did. And I saw that although I did have a legitimate outrage and grievance, there was no need hurting myself because of that more by doing something as stupid as that. So that was the only good thing that came out of any of the police calls was me being able to reflect and see I just about made a mistake, and luckily I didn't go through with it. The rest of them were annoyances. I'd say I'm no lawyer, but I would say deprivation of constitutional rights. making false statements, whether it would have been police or the people that made the reports that I have on the names. You know, there was, I never at all was alleging that my police department was workyverse, but that's what they wrote up in the report. They wrote up in the report that I was off my rocker, basically, saying that I know they're streaming me talking about, and the police wrote it down as them, and they know I wasn't talking about them. We had already had this conversation with one to two of the officers had been there before. Some of the officers that might have came that time didn't know anything about it, but the main two did. The one that took the report did. I mean, this was not a brand new issue all of a sudden. The only difference was I was reporting that they had been using an account that they created from Hayti. I said they basically are impersonating y'all's department online. That didn't get put down. When I saw that report, it it finally confirmed to me what I had believed since I got that first fuck you moment with the cop that ended up finding out my ex-girlfriend committed property damage on my vehicle when her friend told him, and they still let them get away with it. Didn't report it. I'd always believed that I was not liked because of perhaps one of my family members, one of my family, and some things to do with me. I didn't know what those things were. I just knew that the cops they didn't really they don't care for someone that questions them a lot, and I'm the type of person that will do that. So yeah, when I got that first ticket for simply riding down my own fucking street with a driver's license on an ATV in a country town, and just yesterday me and my grandfather drove and saw a mother and father go golf cart. Keep in mind, these have the same rules in our city as an ATV. You're supposed to have a triangle on the back, and technically, you're only supposed to be using it for farm work or, if you're hunting or something of that. It's basically illegal to ride them in the city limits. There's an ordinance. Now, do you know how many ATVs and golf carts we see every day? Especially once it starts getting this season. They are everywhere. Hardly none ever follow the regulate or anything, but because I was riding down that street on my street that day, and Macklin had seen me, who he had a lot of issues with my brother, you know, it's just people abusing authority. And he's not a cop anymore, thank God. But he was a dickhead and a corrupt little asshole. Straight up, I got my own ex-girlfriend admitting that, Gabby told Macklin that they fucking did it. And I said, yeah. And she said, you did what? And she said, well, she asked me if we did it, and I said, yeah, we did. And she said, you did what? You could have recorded that call or anything. While I'm sitting there recording her, and I go, yeah, huh, because I want to get the truth. Like that's what I get some people on here may think like, oh, he's a nutter or whatever, but no. When you've been through instances on more than one occasion of bullshit or something corrupt going on, where they cover something up, turn a blind eye, whatever, it eats away at you. I don't know however other many people have had it done or experienced similar things, but someone help me out here. I mean, it does eat away at you. At least it has at me. Because I'm not somebody, when somebody says, "Oh well, the world's not fair," yeah, I hate that saying. I hate that cop out of a fucking saying that basically is just saying, "Oh well, fuck the shut. Who cares?" Be more honest to say that. Instead of saying, "Well, the world's not fair," to just say, "Who cares?" The world is not uh, unfair acts exist because of man, not because of God. You know, unfair that while although I didn't initiate anything to do with Jackie the day dams, she had to initiate trying to pick at me, and it it got my attention a little bit at first, but then it really it did it got me you know I mean you call somebody something that they're not, that's very outlandish, and I mean it's expected. So yeah, I lost my temper. I said, "Shut the fuck up, bitch." And you know what? If I had to do it over again and I could actually go back and redo it all in real time with the foreknowledge, I would probably not be as vulgar as I was because I'd want to set a better example. I would have just said, you know, I'm taking note of that, and you're wrong, you're lying, and you need to stop. But I may even have still said, shut up. But I don't like, I think people think that I like or want conflict. I don't, but I mean, apparently do because that's all they're about is conflict, whether it's trying to put mail at my doorstep to get me to react, keep commenting down endlessly in my chat, even though I'm not looking at it right now as we speak, to get me to react. I should just go ahead and turn the live chat completely off while I do the rest of this and just, because all that does is, even when I go back and look at it, is it just, to be told Scientology has a policy on enemies. It says that they never attack, they always defend, or never defend, always attack, and that basically as a Scientologist, you're told anyone that's a SP or enemy of Scientology, they can be sued, slandered, ridiculed, just ruin them utterly is the fucking poignant phrase that L. Ron Hubbard used. And that's just about the treatment I'm getting, but I'm not getting it from the fucking church that I left. It's a cult. It's only a church by IRS fucking definitions. But I'm getting done by that. I'm getting done that way by a fucking small, compared to Scientology, little group of internet stalkers and gang stalkers, what the fuck ever you want to call them. they roll in large numbers and they gang stalk. I mean, and they fucking berate and ridicule and try to humiliate, and slander, and all that. What else do you call it? But I did see in the series about getting back to Waco. You know, Koresh had taken a 14-year-old as a wife. That that red flagged it all for me right then. You know, the only thing that I have to say from then on is, well, I think the government could have done some different things, and it certainly says a lot about the people there because you got to wonder because supposedly I think his first wife that was 14, his father was a member there. Was it signed off? Like, did they actually make it legal? Did he not give a shit and not make it legal? Like, all those facts I wanted to know. That's why I was inquiring about him. I do not like him. Anyone that is claiming to be God or the second coming of Christ, obviously, I mean, and it's not because it's popular. I'm just not. Uh, I'm not so inclined to believe that we would, you know, it would be something like that. Just wouldn't. As much as of much of the search and soul searching and finding I've done with religion and in regards to the Scientology ordeal and everything else, like I just you know I've had my one experience falling into a cult. I don't think I would fall into one again. And I don't know why people think I'm hating on Ryan. I'm not hating on Ryan. Uh, I I just posted that picture because it was so clear in one of these last videos, which obviously shows that I watch his stuff, so I obviously don't hate him. But I just noticed it and I was like, damn, them fucking pupils are huge. Like, man, maybe so and so ain't lied before when they said that. I mean, because they're just as big as my eyes were when I took Adderall or the time that I had X and or had taken ecstasy. Like they get all your black covers up just all but maybe 10% left of the colored part of your eye. I mean, when your eyes are that fucking big, it's like you're super focused on the horizon and you're speeding through it without even looking down at the ground. It's just weird, but I guess it doesn't. These people online, they don't seem to care if you're a celebrity and you may take medication for condition, even if they don't agree with it, because you got your own money, it's your own life and stuff. You know, I apparently don't have any of my own money or anything. And since I don't have anything of my own, and since they think they claim to own me as their property, they think they got the right to fucking zig zag and nab and talk about all the shit that concern me, which is just bullshit. What they're literally trying to do, I'll tell you what they're trying to do. You're actively watching people trying to cause someone to go insane. I mean, filthy animal promising to mentally break me. I mean, it doesn't get any more simpler than that. And why would he want to do that? So if I had a psychotic break and something happened, I'd get locked up on myself, or owner might actually get fully committed for real, or at the very least go to jail and be in pain or whatever, and have to deal with something. And they would laugh at it. They would laugh in enjoyment and love about it. They would celebrate. That's how sick those fucking people are. That's why they let Mustard Squirrel run rampant. You know, I posted something earlier. I saw this woman was charged with these horrific crimes. He said, that's you. Considering some of the stuff that I post where he'll say like that's you or whatever, this like some of the people are younger or at the same age as me, or a lot of the times younger. So if that was me, don't you think I would have already, you know, been in the system for whatever XYZ you're accusing me falsely of? And if not, then damn, I must be one good broke ass fucking manipulating the system motherfucker. I mean, according to y'all. Because I've never seen so many people like come together like you got Caparo is from No Life Mike's side, but No Life Mike's not work yours, right? Carl's not work yours. See, fuck all these labels and everything. That's all to confuse and to misdirect. The people that hang out together and do the stuff together are the ones that are fucking responsible for the shit. Period. And yeah, they've hung out with Greek Squad and everything else. Now I'm gonna play this from the Blaze because I think it is interesting. I haven't heard about it or listened or seen it. I'm also gonna make something so you may hear something in the background. But yeah, I want this. Apparently, they put graphic photos of Hunter Biden on display at the last hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we begin, I would like to let the...
This is what's horrible about all this. And you see all the new stuff, supposedly new indictments coming down on Trump. Why do you think all this shit is happening? Like, this is a crazy, and I know like people are gonna say it's cliche or like every generation says it or something when something happens, but this is a crazy fucking time to be alive.
committee and everyone watching at home that parental discretion is advised. I would also like to remind everyone that on our oversight committee, we provide oversight into all parts of the federal government, including their Department of Justice and their willingness to prosecute and their unwillingness to prosecute, and whether it's politically motivated. I would also like to say that when evidence and proof of a crime is presented, no prosecution should be denied, no matter who the person is. To the whistleblowers today, I thank both of you for your courage to come to the committee today and your commitment to truth. I have great respect for it, so thank you. I would like to talk with you both about Hunter Biden and his tax write-offs with his law firm, Owasco. I would like to ask Mr. Ziegler, when did you start your investigation? In your testimony, it was November 2018. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. During your testimony with the House Ways and Means Committee, you stated that through bank records, you identified Hunter Biden was paying prostitutes related to a potential prostitution ring. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, that's correct.
I've also reviewed those same bank reports, commonly referred to as SARS, Suspicious Activity Reports, and I'm very troubled by them. We read thousands of them in the Treasury. This particular excerpt from a SARS report talks about human trafficking and in regards to Hunter Biden and Owasco and payments he was making. What's even more troubling to me is that the Department of Justice has brought no charges against Hunter Biden that will vindicate the rights of these women who are clearly victims under the law. I would like to talk about in your prior testimony, you stated that the prosecutorial team was investigating violations of the Mann Act. Is that correct, Mr. Ziegler?
That is correct.
Regarding the Mann Act, if a person is
Violations of the
transported
Mann
across
Act.
state lines for sexual activity, such as
Oh.
prostitution, that could be a violation of a federal law. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I actually recently looked at the federal law regarding Mann Act, and I believe that that is correct, but I would refer you to the DOJ manual.
Thank you. I would like to present this to the committee. This is showing Hunter Biden paying for a victim's United flight from LA to Dulles. This was I believe this is a
Damn.
violation of the Mann Act. This is Hunter Biden's, this is his proof that he bought the ticket. He bought it for this woman right here. He flew her from Los Angeles to Washington on June 14th, flew her back to Los Angeles, California on June 15th of 2018. And I would like to point out that if he was purchasing her a plane ticket for sex and traveling across state lines, do you believe that to be a violation of the Mann Act, Mr. Ziegler?
So I can talk to specifically what's in my transcript regarding the Mann Act. So I know we were compiling the information together.
Yes, but
Come
Mr.
on, don't
Ziegler,
avoid the-
as
don't
the
avoid
law states,
the
by the
question.
code of the law, it states traveling, paying someone to go across state lines is prostitution. It's a violation of the Mann Act. Let me just move on just one more second here. So when Hunter Biden
He
paid
ain't
for
biting
this
on that one.
woman to do this with him, to travel across state lines from California to Washington, D.C. on June 15th, this is a violation of the Mann Act. This was prostitution. Let me continue. Did Hunter Biden also use his company, Owasco PC, to pay prostitutes?
Can you hold on one second?
Chairman,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll give you this additional time back.
Thank you.
That was,
So regarding Mann Act violations, what we can do is, given by the statute, we can turn those over to the House Ways and Means Committee, and then we can they can decide to vote to turn them over to you regarding Mann Act.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. So talking about Hunter Biden using his company, Owasco PC, to pay prostitutes, this is also a suspicious activity report showing that victim one, the woman that was paid for prostitution, that traveled from California to Washington, D.C., paid for by Hunter Biden. This is an excerpt from a SARS report that we've read in the Treasury, and I think you all have looked at these too, showing that victim one was supposedly an employee of Owasco. But I would like to point out, this is not really what most paralegals do for law firms. And it's very serious that Hunter Biden was paying this woman through his law firm and then writing it off as business tax exemptions. Most people write off, their write off things for their taxes through their businesses, like a meal or say office supplies. But can you confirm for
Something
me
used for
that Hunter
business.
Biden had written off payments to prostitutes through his law firm, Owasco?
I appreciate the question given by the statute. I'm limited in my testimony today, and I respectfully would need to turn those records over to the House Ways and Means Committee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ziegler. One last question. You referred to one of the assistants as West Coast assistant. I believe this is the West Coast assistant. Could you agree with that?
So I can tell you that there were deductions for what we believe to be escorts, and then that $10,000 golf club membership Yes, that was not a golf club membership. That was for a sex club payment.
That
Awesome.
was for a sex club payment.
And he comes
Payments
back.
such as this
I
through,
guess he's doing good.
from Hunter Biden to prostitutes. Also,
He's limited
Mr.
on what he can
Shapley,
say, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, we're at 1 minute and 53 seconds over. As long as Ms. Ocasio-Cortez can get equal time, she can
Ms.
keep going.
I will let Ms. Green wrap up 5 seconds, and then I'll give Mr. Mafume additional time.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Shapley, you started an investigation into Hunter Biden, codename Sportsman, which opened in November of 2018. It was an offshoot of an investigation the IRS was conducting into a foreign-based amateur online pornography platform. This
Take
is
my
evidence
Chairman,
of Hunter Biden
Chairman, it's over
making
time
sex,
and
excuse me, this is my time,
unbecoming of
making
the
pornography.
Should we be displaying this, Mr. Chairman, in the committee?
The lady's time's expired and went 2.5 minutes over.
Chairman,
If
can I
Mr.
have a point of
Mafume
order?
wants the 2.5 minutes, he can have it. If he wants to yield some to Ms. Ocasio-Cortez when she goes, she can have it. We'll make it right. 2.5 minutes. You all
Mr.
have an
Chairman.
extra 2.5 minutes. Chair recognizes Mr.
Mr.
Mafume
Chairman,
for
Point
5
of order,
minutes.
point of order, Mr. Chairman. Is that
State your
here?
point.
My understanding is that this committee was provided the suspicious activity reports on the condition that it not publicize them for the reason that they are not actually even allegations.
I believe this is the West Coast assistant. Could you agree with that?
So I can tell you that there were deductions for what we believe to be escorts, and then that $10,000 golf club membership. Yes, that was not a golf club membership. That was for a sex club payment.
That was for a sex
That shows his
club
depravity.
payment. Payments such as this from Hunter Biden to prostitutes.
Like I got the people on here online, for instance, people call me a gay and stuff, saying, "Oh, I ain't had pussy, pussy had me." Did you ever, people can go through periods of celibacy, especially when they suffer from shit that happened to them in the past. In my case, 2 different situations, the most recent being with that fucking woman that lied to me
Also, Mr. Shapley,
Come on.
and used me. Holy shit. He recorded multiple sex tapes with a prostitute he paid for out of his law firm's bank account. What a fucking idiot.
Mr. Chairman, we're at 1 minute and 50.
I'm so glad she saw that. He getting it. He doing the down and dirty. He doing the dirty dog. Look like he might be into whatchamacallit, from the back.
53 seconds over. As long as Ms. Ocasio-Cortez can get equal time, she can
Ms.
keep going.
I will,
He be on that speed, I heard. So, that shit makes you want to have sex from what I understand.
let Ms. Green wrap up 5 seconds, and then I'll give Mr. Mafume additional time.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Shapley, you started an investigation into Hunter Biden, codename Sportsman, which opened in November of 2018. It was an offshoot of an investigation the IRS was conducting into a foreign-based amateur online pornography platform. This is evidence
Chairman,
of Hunter
Chairman,
Biden
it's
making
over time
sex,
and
excuse me, this is my time,
unbecoming of
making pornography.
Stop interrupting her.
Should we be displaying this, Mr. Chairman? in the
It's already
committee?
been displayed enough times to be screen grabbed a million times. Who cares?
Lady's time's expired and went 2.5 minutes over.
Chairman,
If
can I
Mr.
have a point of
Mafume
order?
wants the 2.5 minutes, he can have it. If he wants to yield some to Ms. Ocasio-Cortez when she goes, she can have it. We'll make it right. 2.5 minutes.
The hell is that dude on the left wearing? That's like wearing. See, now people criticize him too, but he could probably argue and say somehow that that's religious headwear to him, especially if he's like new age or whatever. But it's weird to see him wearing that. Then again, he may have Well, I see some hair at the bottom, so I don't think he's got cancer. I almost thought maybe he had cancer. Because I mean, I understand people with cancer and, stuff if they want to wear it, especially if they've lost their hair.
Minute. You all
Mr.
have an
Chairman.
extra 2.5 minutes. Chair recognizes Mr.
Mr.
Mafume
Chairman,
for
point
5
of order.
minutes.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Is that
State your
here?
point.
My understanding is that this committee was provided the suspicious activity reports on the
It's interesting how these hearings and stuff to do with Congress, that they do represent in a way, they have a courtroom style or decorum way of operating in a sense.
condition that it not publicize them for the reason that they are not actually even allegations, much less evidence of anything. And my colleague from Georgia has now just revealed it publicly.
That is a good point. However, that suspicious activity report has been public for years. That suspicious activity report was on the internet long before I became chairman of this committee. So that particular suspicious activity report has already been publicized.
Thank you for that clarification. She had said it was part of the thousands she reviewed.
The fuck?
Number 3, substance abuse and personal issues. Hunter Biden's personal struggles with substance abuse have been widely reported. His past encounters with law enforcement related to drug use have raised questions about his judgment and potential vulnerabilities that could be exploited. The laptop from hell is often at the center of these revelations around Hunter's personal issues.
They show not only illegal activity concerning drugs and prostitutes, they show 11 years of the American First family's personal life. Everything from controversies about Joe, and it's basically a group of drunks and drug addicts. And we in the pictures we have, I mean, there's nude photos of multiple Biden family members. Normal people don't have those photos. A normal American family wouldn't have naked pictures strewn about on just one device. It's insane stuff. There's nearly 40,000. Like I said at the top of the interview, we're redacting the genitalia, but I'm curious to see what other people find in these photos. I've gone through them, but the reason why we're distributing this in a responsible manner is because we know that other people will pick up stuff that we haven't picked up yet, and they'll be able to go through chronologically. So it starts in 2008 and it goes to March of 2019. That's the date range of the photos. And the users of the site, BidenLaptopMedia.com, will be able to go from 08, 2019, or from most recent to oldest. And everything from graduations, internal fights, a lot of screenshots, a lot of family arguing about Hunter and Hallie getting clean. Because one thing that I know you and I talked about briefly is that Hallie Biden, his brother's widow, she was on crack cocaine for years.
Hunter Biden's personal and professional scandals have compiled over the years, but he is finally being forced to face the law on some of his issues.
So Republicans are about this, and of course they are, because for a long time they've rolled out Hunter Biden as Exhibit A of sweetheart deals, of corruption, of pay to play politics, and essentially they're looking at the agreement first on the back taxes that were owed, and then also on the lie.
Well, yeah, the back taxes. I know that was a big issue. Was like, how much had he not paid in, or did he potentially owe? I know that was a big story. You got to be kidding me. A dude murdered his teacher over a bad grade. Seriously? Well, we'll get to that one. Looks like he got sentenced to life. I mean, I don't not see how. I mean, like, you can't. Well, what the hell is kids thinking and shit? Like, I got a bad grade in Spanish. Fuck, I barely passed. No habla español. Like, I, I cannot speak Spanish. Like, I hated trying to conjugate and learn that shit. It was a fucking. It was just a mess trying to. Um, and yeah, I'm checking out my screen and shit. May turn off the fucking comments. You people being rude as shit. Yeah, say all that shit in one little letter. See, that just makes it easy because then I don't have to like you assume I'm gonna go out of the way to see what it says, and I'm not. That's what's funny about that.
The lie that he said on a gun charge, and they're saying, pick a person off the street, and had they done this sort of thing, they wouldn't have walked away with such a light slap on the wrist.
No, no, no. I mean, very rarely do police arrest somebody, question them, think that they're the culprit, and then they get exonerated by evidence. It's happened to me, and I can tell you, out of all the encounters I've had with police, that's the only one time where shit actually worked out the way it was supposed to. Every other damn time, it worked out after you spent money and got a lawyer and fought things. And I'm not talking about getting deals because people have known, as I've said and shown before on streams, I got several cases where I had to get a lawyer and I didn't get a SIS or a lesser charge and all that bullshit. I got the shit dropped because they tried to keep coming at me with bullshit.
That is something that I think that is going to continue to be litigated.
Any chance they got, if the situation arose where Ian gets himself in a jam and the police get involved, we're gonna try to charge him. Like that's why I'm extra careful not to fucking ever get in there involved because hell, they'll fucking make some shit up on the spot.
You already have Republican presidential candidates promising that if elected, they're going to continue the investigation into Hunter Biden.
Like I don't have any faith or trust in them after reading that report. And you got to understand that was months after being home. I did not read that shit and go over it or even pay it really any attention when I first got back. It just got tucked away with stuff. And I read it and I just had a sinking pit feeling just sunk in my stomach, down in my body. Because I knew I'd been had, like, because of y'all, meaning the Workyverse's aggravation of my police and them responding out here and me telling them what really is going on, them not wanting to deal with it, and then writing down something on the report to justify putting me in the ward for an eval, not a commitment. And I got released early before I was even due to be lawfully. That shit fucks you up. The police basically lied to fucking take me. I did say what I said, which was dumb, but I didn't say it in the way that it's always portrayed. And I had went over like by telling them, trying to clarify what but that may have been but regardless of that being the trigger, they should have if that was the trigger point, they should have went on that and not made up anything else and lied. I mean, when you're able to see that your police can just lie and, you know, there's no oversight, there's no way of getting it fixed, at least not without a lot of money and high powered attorney. You know, it's just, it breaks you down, it whittles you down little by little.
This is going to be personal. It's going to be messy, and it's not going away anytime soon. Meanwhile, the White House, not only do they not want to answer any questions about Hunter Biden, and they'll refer reporters to his personal attorney, but they've been very public about allowing the president's son to be there at state dinners, to travel with the president. And if you push them on questions about whether or not the president has put up any safeguards, whether or not the White House has instructed the Biden family not to conduct business on White
They just found fucking cocaine recently.
House grounds. They just, they stonewall, they defer, and they don't answer the question.
Number 4, foreign connections and national security risks. Some experts and lawmakers have expressed concerns about Hunter Biden's connections with foreign entities and potential national security risks. Critics argue that these connections could compromise US interests and allow foreign actors to gain leverage over the Biden administration. However, no concrete evidence of such national security risks have been substantiated. Now that they've got all this information, how do you think this will look for Biden's re-election campaign?
So the White House, they don't want to touch this with a 100-foot pole. They want to cast Hunter Biden as someone who has had previous troubles, but now is on the straight and narrow. As these leaks continue, though, as we continue to verify things that we were previously told were misinformation, this is going to be the news cycle that keeps on giving to the president's opponents. And beyond just one individual, this is also a larger question of exactly what you referenced a moment ago. Who was it at the FBI who was directing folks in social media to say that this was misinformation? Why were there more than 50 former U.S. counterintelligence officials who went on the record and said that this was disinformation before it could be verified? And since Twitter sort of took down posts about the Hunter Biden laptop, since Facebook did the same, we've been able to actually find out that this is verifiable, that this is true information. And let's not pretend that this was some sort of riddle wrapped up in an enigma. This laptop had emails and it had contacts, and it was very easy, obviously with due diligence, but it was very easy to sort of follow the breadcrumbs and very quickly substantiate that this was real information. And at this point, even Hunter Biden's own lawyers have admitted that that laptop did in fact belong to him.
Holy shit.
Thanks, sir. The chair yields to Ms. Hageman for 5 minutes.
Thank you. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution rests on the principle that no person or institution, including the government, has a monopoly on the truth, and that viewpoint-based suppression of speech by the government is dangerous and may even spell the death of a constitutional republic. Under the First Amendment, the government has no power to restrict expression because of its message, its ideas, its subject matter, or its content. As the Supreme Court has explained, if there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion. Labeling speech misinformation does not strip it of its First Amendment protection. That is so even if the speech is untrue, as some false statements are inevitable if there is to be an open and vigorous expression of views in public and private conversation. In refusing to carve out a First Amendment exception for false speech, the framers of our Constitution recognized the significant danger in making the government the ultimate arbiters of truth. And it is axiomatic, in the words of the Supreme Court, that the government may not induce, encourage, or promote private persons to accomplish what it constitutionally is forbidden to accomplish. Secretary Mayorkas, it was reported in May that the DHS, through the Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant Program, is funding groups targeting conservatives and equating them to domestic terrorists. Originally intended to combat foreign terrorist organizations' operations in the U.S., it has become yet another government tool weaponized against citizens to violate First Amendment protected affiliations and speech. One grant to the University of Dayton for a program titled Prevents O hosted a seminar titled Extremism, Rhetoric, and Democratic Precarity. One of the speakers, a known Antifa member, as part of his presentation shared a pyramid of far-right radicalization, which likened the Republican Party to the Heritage Foundation, the American Conservative Union, Fox News, Breitbart News, the National Rifle Association, Prager University, Tea Party Patriots, the MAGA movement, and the pro-police
Holy shit.
Blue Lives Matter movement. And
They even have InfoWars in there. How can you put InfoWars in there? He's like conspiracy related.
the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And then they got the fucking lightning bolt shit. Nazi. Whoa.
As the first steps on path leading to Nazism and militant neo-Nazism, among other appalling ideologies and groups. This presenter reportedly also taught tactics on how to pressure the removal of conservatives from platforms, and he's even quoted as saying, "A lot of things we are doing are illegal, and a lot of it involves breaking the law." Secretary Mayorkas, does the affiliation with conservative or Christian beliefs make someone a Nazi?
But if it's done in the interest of the mission, it is thus
Or a
righteous to take down the far right neo-Nazis. And obviously I'm being sarcastic because these people are fucking nuts.
Domestic terrorist?
Of course not.
Okay. Then
Exactly.
if that's so, why is your agency targeting Americans who are Christians and conservatives?
We are not.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Secretary Mayorkas, when did you become aware that the University of Dayton was implementing your grant funding program to target conservatives and Christians?
It is my understanding that it is not.
When did you become, so you're not aware of that?
No, it is my understanding that it is not.
You're unaware of the information that has been produced, and have you ever seen the pyramid that it's up on the screen right now?
I learned about the individual speaker's comments, with which I profoundly disagree.
Okay, so when did you find out about the speaker's comments?
I don't quite recall, Congresswoman.
All right, well, you know what,
Oh.
Mr. Mayorkas, I actually really want to thank you as well for coming here today, for your performance.
Yeah.
I have watched with absolute
Fucking stellar one.
fascination as you have danced and dodged and lied. Yes, lied. We know you've lied. You know you've lied. But more importantly, the American public knows that you lied throughout your testimony today. And yet you believe that you and your fellow architects of the censorship industrial complex think that you should be able to determine what is and isn't true, and what is and isn't untrue. You are the walking, talking epitome of the very tyrant that our forefathers recognized would gravitate towards government service. And it is because of people like you that they drafted the First Amendment. I thank them for their foresight. I thank them for recognizing that you and people like you would do everything in your power to control speech, to control freedom, to take away our rights. And they've written a document that isn't going to allow you to do that. Unfortunately, we still have courts and judges who recognize that you don't have the power that you are attempting to take, that you do not have the right to limit our freedom of speech, our freedom of association, our right to communicate. Thank God we have the First Amendment so that we can stop you from doing what you've been doing. With that, I yield back.
Your accusations are false.
Your accusations are false. That's all he had to say. That's pretty good though.
the American people need to understand what just happened. My Democrat colleague was the director of the FBI, whether or not they are buying information about our fellow Americans. And the answer is, well, we'll just have to get back to you on that. It sounds really complicated, but I have other questions. I'm sitting here with my father. I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Sounds like a shakedown, doesn't it, Director?
I'm not going to get into commenting on it.
You seem deeply uncurious about it, don't you? Almost suspiciously uncurious. Are you protecting the Bidens?
Absolutely not. The FBI
Well, you
does
won't
not
answer
and
the
has
question.
no
Hold on.
interest in
You answer the
protecting
question
anyone
about whether or not
politically.
that's a shakedown, and everybody knows why you won't answer it. Because to the millions of people who will see this, they know it is. And your inability to acknowledge that is deeply revealing about you. But let's go from the uncurious to the downright nosy. How many illegal FISA queries have occurred under your leadership of the FBI?
Well, there are reports that have come out with different numbers about compliance incidents.
More than 1 million illegal ones? Because that's what the Inspector General said. The Inspector General said that in the 3.4 million of these queries, more than 1 million were in error. Do you have any basis to disagree with that assessment by the Inspector General?
I'm not sure actually that's a correct characterization of the Inspector General's findings on that.
The internet will remind you of
but
that in moments. But let's now go to what the court said. The court said it was over 200,000 that have occurred on your watch. Do you have any basis to disagree with that assessment?
Again, I don't have the numbers I sit here right now. What I can
Seems
tell
like
you,
a number you should know. How many times the FBI is breaking the law under your watch, especially if it's like over 1 million, to not know that number? And I'm worried about your veracity on the subject as well. Play the video.
letters for
You going to the
investigation
FISA
of
court?
the Capitol.
Or you
I don't
going to-
believe FISA is remotely implicated in our investigation.
So there, Senator Lee's asking you whether or not FISA was in any way involved in your January 6th investigation, and you say no. Was that truthful?
I said that I did not believe it was.
Okay, so now let's pull up what the court said, which was something a little different. Than what you said. So here, nope, that's not the right one. Yeah, here we go. Right there, it says the government has reported additional significant violations of the querying standard, including several relating to the January January 6, 2021 breach of the Capitol. So I guess the question, Director Wray, is did you not know when you were answering these questions that the FBI was engaging in these illegal searches, or did you perjure yourself to Senator Lee?
I certainly didn't perjure myself. At the time that I testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, I didn't have that piece of information. I will add.
Well, that was a court order. You didn't have that piece of information because the court hadn't yet rendered a judgment. Did you not know when you gave the untruthful answer before Senator Lee that this was going on?
It was a truthful answer. I did not believe FISA had been involved in the January 6th
But it was.
investigation.
So you didn't. The answer is the FBI has broken so bad that people can go and engage in queries that when you come before the Congress to answer questions, you're like blissfully ignorant. You're blissfully ignorant as to the unlawful queries. You're blissfully ignorant as to the Biden shakedown regime. And it just seems like it gets into a kind of a creepy place as well. Go to our next image on what the court said. Like, just so the American people realize, the court has smacked you down, alleging or ruling FBI personnel apparently conducted queries for improper personal reasons. People were looking themselves up. They were looking their ex-lovers up. Who has been held accountable? Or fired as a consequence of the FBI using the FISA process as their like creepy personal snoop machine.
There have been instances in which individuals have had disciplinary action and who
Name
are no
them.
longer with it. I can't get into it here, but we can follow back up
But
with
don't you
that.
see, don't you see that that's kind of the thing, Director Wray, that you preside over the FBI that has the lowest level of trust in the FBI's history? People trusted the FBI more when J. Edgar Hoover was running the place than when you are. And the reason is because you don't give straight answers. You give answers that later a court deems aren't true. And then at the end of the day, you won't criticize an obvious shakedown when it's directly in front of us. And it appears as though you're whitewashing the conduct of corrupt people.
Respectfully, Congressman, in your home state, Florida, the number of people applying to come work for us and devote their lives working for us is up over 100%.
We're deeply proud of them, and they deserve better than you.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
A recent poll found that 37% of Americans have a positive view of the FBI. And that's from an NBC poll. I wouldn't exactly call that right media propaganda. And I think I know why. Here's what the American people know and believe about the FBI today, sir. If you are a Trump, you'll be prosecuted. If you are a Biden, you'll be protected. And the American people that I represent are sick and tired of this double standard. It seems like every single hearing that we have in this room, we talk about the two-tiered justice system of Biden's DOJ and the FBI. And as we were talking earlier, here we are again. President Trump endured an unprecedented raid at his home in Mar-a-Lago. President Biden's home, however, was respectfully browsed. President Trump is facing up to 400 years in federal prison for allegedly being in possession of classified documents he obtained as the commander-in-chief of these United States of America. And meanwhile, President Biden is facing no charges for the classified documents he had held at his time as a senator and a vice president, not the president of these United States of America. And last I checked, he had no legal authority to declassify those documents. Assuming President Trump was in possession of said classified documents, would those documents be more secure, surrounded by Secret Service at Mar-a-Lago, or in a box, in a garage, behind your Corvette? No, the answer to that question. Question for you, sir. What can you tell us about the status of the FBI's investigation of President Biden's classified documents found next to his Corvette in Delaware and those found at the Penn Biden Center? Do we have an update on that, sir?
What I can tell you is that there is an ongoing special counsel investigation led by Mr. Robert Hur, and we have FBI agents affiliated with it, working on it, working very actively and aggressively with him on that case. I obviously disagree with your description of the two standards. In my view, at least under my watch, we have one standard.
Okay.
And that is we're going to pursue the facts wherever they lead, no matter who likes it. And I add that last part because especially in sensitive investigations, almost by definition, somebody's not going to like it.
So I understand, and that's actually why I led with the sentiment of the American people. I understand that's your sentiment. I do want to finish this. So I want everybody to talk about this dichotomy that we have seen. I get your point, sir, but that's just not what we see as the public, as we the people. We see one case being fast-tracked and one case being slow-walked. We see one president's home being raided, the other president's home being kindly searched. You have one government agency, the Secret Service, protecting the former president and his home, and another government agency, the FBI, raiding the same home. Now, to me, sir, that's tragically ironic. And we expect more from a functional constitutional republic, and these things shouldn't be happening. Now, it's my opinion that Joe Biden is the most unpopular president we have seen in a century, and that's why he knows the only way to stop President Trump from beating him in November is by putting him in jail. You talked about this, Mr. Fry, in the 247 years of this existence of this great nation, only one president has ever been indicted by the DOJ and has home raided by the FBI. Now, some have said that President Trump's indictment means that no one is above the law. Okay, all right, I would love to see that. But what about Hillary Clinton? And what about Joe Biden? And what about Hunter Biden, who is America's favorite son? Let me tell you something. I got a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter at my house. Hunter Biden to me is like glitter. He is on everything and you cannot get rid of him. And yet nothing is going to be done about this. We're sick of it. James Comey decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton despite overwhelming evidence that she committed crimes. And as I recall, it was the position of the FBI to not prosecute because they didn't want to interfere with the presidential election. What do you call this? The Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. Six months. I think the American public would expect to see this from Cuba and from Venezuela and from Russia and from China, but not here. The people expect us to have blind justice. They expect equal justice under the law. It is not the job of the DOJ or the FBI to prosecute Joe Biden's top political opponent, who was leading in every single primary poll, and the Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. Let the people decide. It's our job to uphold the Constitution. As a West Point grad and military veteran, this is the Constitution I'm giving my life to protect, and I expect us all to uphold it likewise. Thank you so much for being here.
Mr. Chairman, may I briefly respond?
Sure.
So number one, as to the investigations related to Mrs. Clinton, as you noted, that happened under my predecessor, and I'm not going to attempt to speak for or defend that decision.
I recognize that.
Second, as to your descriptions of the investigations related to Hunter Biden, as you know, there is an ongoing investigation being led by the Delaware U.S. Attorney appointed by President Trump, and we are actively working on that investigation with him.
We look forward to seeing the results of this quickly and swiftly.
And third and finally, to your point about the American people and their views, I worry less about NBC polls or polls by any other news outlet, but I will tell you that the number of people in Texas applying to work for us since I've been in this job has gone up 93%. And in fact,
I'm not going to quote Matt Gaetz. I heard his response to this earlier.
In fact, we have more applicants from the state of Texas annually in the last several years than any other state in the country.
And that makes sense because Texas is the greatest state in the country.
Then I think that speaks very well of the view of Texans about the FBI.
Director, any agents who served on the Crossfire Hurricane investigation or the Mueller investigation are any of those agents on Mr. Hur or Mr. Smith's special counsel team?
I don't believe so, but I can't, on the top of my head, go through the list of, there's a lot of agents involved in the two investigations. And so let me check into that and see if there's any way we can get back to you on that, because I don't want to get out over my head.
Thank you. Gentleman from Chair now recognizes himself for an opening statement. 8 days ago, on July 4th, in the Western District of Louisiana, the court found that the federal government suppressed Americans' First Amendment free speech rights. In his conclusion on page 154, the court said this, the judge said this: plaintiffs are likely to succeed on the merits in establishing that the government has used its power to silence the opposition. Opposition to COVID-19 vaccines, opposition to COVID-19 mask and lockdowns, opposition to the lab leak theory of COVID-19, opposition to the validity of the 2020 election, opposition to President Biden's policies, statements that the Hunter Biden laptop was true, and opposition to policies of the government officials in power. All were suppressed. It is quite telling that each example or category of suppressed speech was conservative in nature. The court further writes, the United States government seems to have assumed a role similar to an Orwellian ministry of truth. Specific to the FBI, the court said this: the FBI's failure to alert social media companies that the Biden laptop story was real and not Russian disinformation is particularly troubling. The FBI had the laptop in their possession since December 2019 and had warned social media companies repeatedly to look out for, quote, hack and dump operation by the Russians prior to the 2020 election. Even after Facebook specifically asked whether the laptop story was Russian disinformation, the FBI refused to comment, resulting in social media companies' suppression of the story. And as a result, millions of our fellow citizens did not hear the story prior to the November 3rd, 2020 election. Additionally, the FBI was included in industry meetings, bilateral meetings, received and forwarded alleged misinformation to social media companies, and actually misled companies in regard to the laptop story. When the court says the FBI misled, that's a nice way of saying they lied. They lied, and as a result, important information was kept from we the people days before the most important election we have, election of President of the United States, election of the Commander-in-Chief. In a survey last fall, 4 out of 5 Americans said they believe there's a two-tiered system of justice in America today. They said that because there is. They said that because of what they've witnessed. Think about what Americans have seen. National School Board Association, left-wing political group, writes the White House and asks them to treat parents at school board meetings as terrorists. And the Garland Justice Department does just that. They put together a memo, set up a dedicated line of threat communication, a snitch line on parents. As a result, parents get investigated by our FBI, get a threat tag associated with their 25 of them, because whistleblowers came and told us we're investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Americans have seen the FBI's Richmond field office put together a memorandum saying pro-life Catholics are extremists. They've seen 20 FBI agents, SWAT team members, show up at the home of Mark Houck and arrest him in front of his wife and 7 children, even though he had indicated he'd be happy to turn himself in. And what was he arrested for? Him and his 12-year-old son were praying outside an abortion facility. Some guy starts screaming in his son's face, and he did what frankly any dad would do, defended his child. What's interesting is the National School Board Association apologized for the letter, but the Attorney General refuses to rescind his directive. The FBI did rescind, thank goodness, the Richmond Catholic Memorandum, but they refuse to tell Congress who wrote it and who approved it. And Mr. Houck, when he got his day in court, he was acquitted by a jury of his peers. American speech is censored. Parents are called terrorists. Catholics are called radicals. And I haven't even talked about the spying that took place of a presidential campaign or the raiding of a former president's home. But maybe what's more frightening is what happens if you come forward and tell Congress. If you're a whistleblower, come tell the legislature, come tell the Congress what's going on. Look out. You will be retaliated against. Ask Garrett O'Boyle, who told Congress about these issues. Took his clearance, they took his pay, they took his kids' clothes. Ask Gary Shapley, 14-year veteran at the IRS, handled some of the biggest international tax fraud cases at the agency. He comes forward and the Justice Department kicks him off the case. But here's what's truly unbelievable. Here's what's amazing. With all that history, with all that, the Justice Department and the FBI want the taxpayers they censored, the parents they labeled, the pro-life Catholics they called radical. They want them to pay for a new FBI headquarters. And they want FISA reauthorization of the 702 program in its current form. It's in the director's opening statement. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. There are 204,000 reasons why Republicans will oppose FISA reauthorization in its current form. 204,000 times the FBI improperly searched the 702 database. And unlike the FBI censorship, in the court's opinion, that was focused on conservatives, the FBI's illegal scrutiny wasn't just limited to conservatives. BLM supporters were illegally scrutinized by the FBI as well. And I hope our Democrat friends will join us in opposing reauthorization of Section 702 the way it's currently done. And I think they will. And I hope they will work with us in the appropriations process to stop the weaponization of the government against the American people and end this double standard that exists now in our justice system. With that, I yield to the gentleman from New York for an opening statement. It is
$3
expired.
million.
Chair now
Because
recognizes.
he wanted to make
Mr.
sure some information
Chair now
didn't get out.
recognizes the
That's
gentleman
what
from
whistleblowers
California.
do.
The gentlelady, this is my time. I've been recognized. Thank you. Mr. O'Boyle, is it true that you have 157 pages of questions that were asked you on a bipartisan basis that are in the record?
To my knowledge, that's correct.
Mr. Friend, isn't it true that for those several hours, you accumulated 198 pages of Q&A, half of the time being yielded to the Democrats for your interview?
Yes.
I yield time to the chairman.
Someone needs to tell the Democrats, I think, gentleman, for you, somebody tell the Democrats you came and talked to this committee because you're a whistleblower. Isn't that right, Mr. Levitt?
Yes, sir.
That's exactly how it works.
May I take a moment to address this idea that these aren't whistleblowers?
Sure.
The
'Cause
law,
You need to educate the members on the other side of the dais
I
here.
don't need educating.
the way that the law,
Mr. Chairman.
This is my time.
I did not
Let's
need
stop
to
the clock.
be demeaned. I am a lawyer, just like this gentleman is. I too have read the law. We just have a big.
Now your
difference
time.
of
The time
opinion in
belongs. The
exactly
time belongs
what
to
he
me.
says and
Mr.
what I
Levitt
say.
is. Mr. Levitt has been asked a
You need
question.
to stop demeaning
so
your
the
colleagues. as
whistleblower
well.
statutes protect protected activity, right? One doesn't have to be retaliated against in order to be a whistleblower, right? We all agree that's not the way that it should happen. And what's being discussed today is that you're not a whistleblower unless you both share this, engage in protected activity, and then are retaliated against, and then go through this process. The Department of Justice Inspector General is currently investigating the claims of Mr. Friend and Mr. Allen. That's exactly what, I don't know what perfect whistleblower there would be, but if they did that, these are the steps they would take. And so by this definition, they're not considered a whistleblower for
Mr.
years
Boyle, you went up your chain of command with your concerns. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I initially started with them and those initial complaints fell on deaf ears.
Then you came to the House Judiciary Committee with those concerns. Is that right?
After going to my local congressman, then I came to the judiciary.
Exactly like the law prescribes for you to do when you see something that is wrong. You did that. So did Mr. Friend. So did Mr. Allen. I yield back to the gentleman from California.
Mr. Levitt, briefly, am I correct that starting with a resolution in 1778, whistleblowers have been recognized by our government, by our Congress, and that's been amended again in 78, 84, and 94, and the most recent one in 2012 passed unanimously in this House. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We recognize whistleblowers for their patriotic duty.
You know what's amazing is when I authored the 2012, along with Mr. Jordan and others, there wasn't any question but that we wanted to better protect whistleblowers' ability to come to us with what they believed was accurate information. Isn't the belief of accurate information the basis?
Yes, reasonable belief.
So is there any question but that people can have a reasonable belief, for example, that going after everyone who came in on January 6th on a bus and getting their financial records, from Bank of America would be inappropriate, and getting their gun purchases for their entire lives would be inappropriate, isn't there a reasonable belief that that might not be appropriate to do and necessary?
Yes, we believe disclosing that was protected.
So people have made appropriate statements, including about January 6th and some excesses that occurred afterwards in the investigation that violated people's constitutional right to privacy, correct?
Yes.
So here we have people who are talking about MAGA and 2020, January 6th, but in fact, they're missing the point. Each of these whistleblowers came forward with what is clearly protected disclosure, and they've had it systematically released, and they've been systematically treated in a way after they came forward that looks like, smells like, and including so-called mistakes, represents retaliation. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's why the Inspector General opened investigations into these disclosures.
So as we sit here today, we've missed one important point, haven't we? That each of these individuals came to the committee with valid claims that at least need to be investigated of wrongdoing by our premier law enforcement organization.
Yes, and Congress protects those disclosures.
And as we sit here today, each of these individuals has been stripped of his clearance, stripped of his ability to work, and stripped of his pay. In your background and history, have you ever seen as straightforward a retaliation as current employees being denied their ability to work, their pay, and their benefits after they've made these kinds of claims?
No, and this is why there's a problem, because it's their clearance that was used as the means of retaliation.
Well, but also in the case of Mr. Allen, he just, and Mr. O'Boyle, they're just also not getting any work. I mean,
That's the point. Yeah, once they suspend your clearance, they also simultaneously put you on suspension. But that's not something that's appealable to the MSPB like a normal firing or demotion is.
if they were most other workers in government, they'd still have their jobs and be paid even if they weren't working, correct? This is uniquely a form of retribution they're able to do to law enforcement.
If you're suspended, yeah, it gets nuanced, but certainly with the clearance, that's a surefire way they can just get them out of the way when they want.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes.
Looked like it was just part of the show, and then some other people that weren't involved in the teams. That's crazy, man. And then someone's girl got hit by accident, and someone got hit by accident. That's when everybody just started getting involved. This is crazy, man. No, we do a search before everybody comes in, Yeah. What's up, sir? You like K service? No, I'm SWAT. No, K9's the other one. ¿O tú quieres tu K9? ¿Dónde? En mi casa. German Shepherd? Malinois. Yeah, those are nice dogs. They're good with the nose. Los narices, bueno. Sí. Porque drogos, bombas. Sí, persona, sí, también.
Speech and training
Yo hablo poquito español. Good man. No, you know who's really good? Eric Plonsky. Plonsky is mejor.
I can't believe they didn't tell you. She don't my wife. Ma'am, please. She don't gotta own the building. She don't gotta own the building. It's respect. It's respect. Respect. You don't bring somebody that don't rock with the act, the main act. You don't bring somebody here that rock with the main act. You don't do that.
Please.
Weirdo ass.
Please. Get him out of here. Get that motherfucker out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Camera, man.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Relax. We'll take care of this.
Get him out of here right now.
He's on the way.
Get him out of here right now.
He's going.
Oh, it's gonna be a Royal Rumble. Come on, man. Get him out of here. It's gonna be a Royal motherfucking Rumble.
You're on the good side.
Man, Royal Rumble in this thing. Keep looking at me.
Hey, you're on the good side.
Looking at me.
Come on, you don't want any trouble.
Hey,
Hey, you don't do that.
don't you touch me. I don't care.
I know, but him.
White man, don't you touch me. Don't you touch me, white man. No, don't that white man touch me. That white man better not touch me. Let's move out. Let's not touch you. Please. Hey, you gotta touch me. Walk away.
There you go. Bring her in there. There you go.
Y'all want to kill me? You
Man, I
got it. You faggot. You faggot.
Relax, bro.
You
good. I got it.
You faggot. You gay. You gay. If you kill me, you all gonna die.
Nobody wants to hurt you.
If you kill me, Cracker, you're going down
Nobody
first.
wants to hurt you.
I'm not a
cracker.
you're going down first.
I'm not a
Cracker,
cracker.
you're going down first, Cracker.
All right.
Oh, my mother.
Get her up. Get her up.
Todito se van a morir.
Get her up.
Toditos ustedes se van a morir. Toditos se van a morir. Toditos y tú vas a hacer el tuyo.
Come on, let's go. We're gonna ride forward now.
Hey, let's go.
Let's go.
Garage?
Come here. Y'all going down first. All the black stuff goes down first. We're going to the one guy goes down. I'm not letting you. This way. You got to think in your own.
Let's go.
And your cracker boys tell you what to do. Your cracker boys tell you what to do. Your cracker boys tell you what to do. I look at y'all two black laying this cracker white boys tell y'all what to do. You should be ashamed of yourself. You kill niggas. You let all this all cracker. They ain't your mother. They say your mother. They thought you.
Hey, let's go. We're gonna get more charges.
Don't you? Let go.
Stop resisting. Stop.
Let go.
Stop. Hey.
Let go.
Stop.
Let go. Hey. Let go of me right now. Hey. Hey,
Are you gonna stop
don't
kicking?
look at me.
Are you gonna stop
Yes, you leg on me.
Are you gonna stop
Don't
kicking?
tell them to leg on me
Are you
right
gonna
now.
stop kicking?
Yes.
The ball's in the push it.
Hey, hey.
Stop kicking. Stop
Listen,
kicking.
Part of the show, and then some other people that weren't involved got involved. That's crazy, man. And then, someone's girl got hit by accident, and someone got hit by accident. That's when everybody just started getting involved. This is crazy, man. No, we do a search before everybody comes in, Yeah. What's up, sir? You like K9 service? No, I'm SWAT. No, K9's the other one. Oh, ¿tú tienes tu K9? ¿Dónde? En mi casa. German Shepherd? Malinois. Yeah, those are nice dogs. They're good with the nose. Los narices buenos. Sí. Porque drogos, bombas. Sí, personas, sí, también. Yo hablo poquito español. Good man. No. You know who's really good? Eric Plonsky. Plonsky is mejor.
I can't believe they didn't tell you. She don't my wife. Ma'am, please. She don't gotta own the building. She don't gotta own the building. It's respect. It's respect. Respect. You don't bring somebody that don't rock with the main act. You don't bring somebody here that rock with the main act. Don't do that.
Please.
Weirdo ass.
Please. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Camera, man.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Relax. We'll take care of this.
Get him out of here right now.
He's on the way.
Get him out of here right now.
He's going.
Oh, it's going to be a Royal Rumble. Come on, man. Get him out of here. It's going to be a Royal Rumble.
You're on the good side.
Man, Royal Rumble. You look at that.
Hey, you're on the good side.
Looking at me.
You don't want any trouble. Hey, you don't do that.
Don't you touch me. I don't care. Listen, white man. Don't you touch me. Don't you touch me. No. White man touch me. White man let's go south. Do not touch me.
There you go. Bring her in there. There you go.
Y'all want to kill me? You
man.
I got it. You faggot. You faggot.
Relax.
You good? I got it. You you gay. You gay. If you kill me, you all gonna die.
Nobody wants to hurt you.
If you kill me, Cracker, you're going down first.
Nobody wants to hurt you. I'm not a
Cracker,
cracker.
you're going down first. Cracker, you going down first, Cracker. Oh my mother.
Get her up. Get her up.
Todito se van a morir.
Get her up.
Toditos ustedes se van a morir. Toditos se van a morir. Toditos y tú vas a ser el primero.
Come on, let's go. We're gonna ride forward now.
Hey, let's go.
Let's go. Garage.
Come here.
We're going to I'm not letting this way. Let's go.
And your cracker boys tell you what to do. Your cracker boys tell you what to do. Your cracker boys tell you what to do. I look at y'all two black laying this cracker white boys tell y'all what to do. You should be ashamed of yourself. You'll never see these crackers tell you to kill you. You can't stand behind the scenes. You let all these old crackers. They enslaved your mother. They enslaved your mother. They don't you.
Hey, let's go. We're gonna get more charges.
Don't you.
Stop resisting. Stop kicking.
Stop.
Stop. Hey,
let go.
Stop.
Hey, let go of me right now. Hey, you look at me. Yes, you let go of me. You tell them to let go of me right now. Yes.
Stop kicking.
Stop
kicking.
Look at me. Look at me.
I gave you the chance.
No. Hey.
No. That's it. Done.
Look at me. Let go of me.
At the 95, 13, 45, good. At the good. At the 95, eastbound Colorado, Boy Henry Union, Edward 56. Boy Henry Union, Edward 56. That's what it is out here.
Hello, how you doing? You got your license on you? Got your ID on you? How you doing? Doing all right? Is this a rental car?
Yes.
Okay, did you rent it?
I rent it.
Okay, do you have the rental agreement on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you need my license?
Yeah, if you got it, that'd be great.
Thank you. Here, I'll give this paper back to you. I see to see this one right here. Thank you. Is he not speaking English? No. Okay. Well, the reason I got him stopped is because he's following too close. I'm not going to issue him a citation. It's just going to be a warning. Okay. All right. Okay, this tailgating. Got to have it back in Denver. Got to have it back in Denver. Yes. Gotcha. On the 13th.
Yes.
Gotcha. Where are you guys heading to?
To New York.
To New York. Gotcha. What takes you to New York? Oh, that's where you're from. Yeah. What took you to Colorado?
Work.
Oh, okay.
Better pay.
Okay. Who you work for?
Bear Logistics.
What is it?
It's Amazon delivery.
Oh, okay. I saw it said Amazon on here.
Oh, yeah.
So does your company run it or do you rent it?
No, I rented it, not the company. Not me.
Okay.
They just asked where I work. So.
Oh, that's okay. That's why it's on here then. Worldwide discount. So you get a discount for it?
Well, because if you link your Amazon account to Avis, Avis account, it's like a gift card after I return the vehicle.
Gotcha. How long are you staying in New York for?
5 days.
5 days. What part?
Long Island.
Long Island. Yeah. So you grew up there?
Yes.
Did you like it there?
Yes.
You originally from the United States, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what these guys? How do you know these guys?
He's my fiance.
Okay.
That's his cousin.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. Is he here on papers?
Who?
Does he have papers to be here? Like a work visa or?
¿Tiene alguna visa para trabajar?
No. Okay. All right. Yep.
Gift card after I return the vehicle.
Gotcha. How long are you staying in New York for?
$5.
5 days. What part?
Long Island.
Long Island. Yeah. So you grew up there then? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you like it there?
Yes.
You originally from the United States, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what these guys? How do you know these guys?
He's my fiance.
Okay.
That's his cousin.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. Is he here on papers?
Who?
Does he have papers to be here? Like a work visa or?
¿Tiene alguna visa para trabajar?
No. Okay. All right. Yep. Thank you. El Salvador. Okay, gotcha. All right. I'm not going to issue a citation or anything like that. All right. I'm just going to run your information. Make sure there's no wants and warrants. Make sure you guys are valid. Get you out of here. Okay. All right. Thank you. This agent wants to speak to you. He's going to have you step out. Okay. Any pistoles in the car? Okay.
I'll have you come out here real quick. Any weapons on you, anything? Pistoles?
No, not
Can I
nothing.
pat you down real quick? I'll check your waistband here. Take your phone out right here. Okay. Put it right there. All right, come back here for me. Okay. Back here. Stand by here a second, okay? I'm just gonna put you back here for just a second, okay? Just one momento.
No problem.
All right.
The alleged leader of a notorious international gang is behind bars in Lucas County. Authorities say MS-13 is one of the most violent gangs in America, and tonight our 11 Investigates team has obtained video of his arrest. Lead investigator Brian Duggar has the arrest caught on camera.
Yeah, Edwin Nelson Velasquez Lauren is accused of ordering multiple murders and running the MS-13 drug empire in New York. Now, on June 7th, an unknowing Ohio State trooper pulled over a vehicle carrying Velasquez Lauren and two other alleged gang members on the Ohio Turnpike. And in the video, which we obtained this afternoon, the trooper stopped a Toyota Highlander driven by Gabriel Lopez for tailgating near State Route 53. And you can see Velasquez Lauren, he's in the front passenger seat. Blanca Garcia, who identifies herself as his fiance, she's in the back seat, and she tells the trooper that the group is headed to Long Island. Now, in an indictment against 23 members of MS-13 unsealed last week, the government says Velasquez Lauren and MS-13 have terrorized the Long Island neighborhood for several years, murdering rival gang members and trafficking cocaine and marijuana. Now, at the end of the video here, you can see Velasquez Lauren being taken into custody. And at that time, officials did not know who they had, but they knew that Velasquez Lauren was in the country illegally. Now, he remains in the Lucas County Jail under maximum security, awaiting extradition to New York.
Last weekend, police broke up a major sex trafficking ring in Colombia, which has become a destination for tourists looking for sex with boys and girls. The police had help from an American who went undercover to rescue the children, and Elaine Quijano met him.
Tim Ballard has one mission: to track down child traffickers. 4 months ago, Colombian authorities asked him to investigate a tip that children were being sold there as sex slaves.
Within a half hour, this individual walks up to me, starts asking me what I'm here for, what I want, and within minutes, he says, well, I've got kids as young as 11 years old.
Ballard, a former Homeland Security agent, now heads up Operation Underground Railroad, a nonprofit group that rescues trafficked kids. After that first meeting, the Colombians asked him to put together a sting.
No men will be in here, only women.
Operation Underground Railroad spent months planning, renting this house, rigging it with hidden cameras to document the crime, coordinating with Colombian authorities, and negotiating with the traffickers.
How they find these kids is they lure them in by pretending to have a modeling agency. They target them at 9 or 10 years old. And they were telling us that about by 11, they're ready for sex. They're ready to be sold.
What is that like, looking into that kind of person's eyes?
It's horrifying, and this is why. Because I've got a smile in the face of the evil. This is the table where we're going to do the negotiation.
Less than 24 hours after the operatives landed, the suspected traffickers arrived on the island, and the final deal with the undercover team began. 54 boys and girls aged 11 to 18 were ushered in for what had been billed as a sex party. They were given candy and drinks and told to wait in this small room.
This little 11-year-old boy, I remember, he asked one of my operatives if they could give him some cocaine or something that he said they usually give me something because I'm really scared.
By the time the deal was done, the alleged traffickers were set to make $25,000. That transaction was never completed. 25 Colombian special operatives stormed the party, arresting 5 suspects, 4 men and 1 former beauty queen, all charged with child trafficking. The victims, 29 of whom are under 18, were evacuated, given medical exams, and placed in a rehabilitation center where specialists are working to undo the damage.
Right before I got in the boat, we had to walk by this room where the kids were, and they put their hand up. And I touched their hand and see that there's liberation now.
Liberating one child at a time. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, New York.
Tim Ballard is a former federal agent on a mission to end human trafficking around the world. His Operation Underground Railroad has helped to rescue 6,000 survivors and arrest more than 5,000 perpetrators. Jim Caviezel stars in Sound of Freedom, the new movie about Tim Ballard's real life. Ephraim Graham sat down with Ballard for a closer look at the true story behind the movie.
We intentionally go to the darkest corners of the earth where there is no hope and find these kids.
Cameras capture some of Tim Ballard's real-life missions to rescue children from sex trafficking. And now there's an even bigger light shining in the darkness.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
The Sound of Freedom, starring Jim Caviezel.
Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Te lo prometo.
Jim Caviezel portrays you in the film. Your thoughts seeing him as you for the first time?
Well, it's really bizarre, first of all, to watch it. But Jim is a special case because I never thought this movie was going to be made.
Ethan, what's going on?
What's going on? I'm having a heart attack.
You're having a heart attack? What's going on, dude?
I'm having a heart attack.
Okay, well, can you tell me what you're feeling?
Palpitations and I'm
All right.
feeling like I've got a lot of heart pain.
Okay.
Chest pain.
All right, just stay still for me, okay?
Yep.
He has a history of it in his family. He has no allergies.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
He
listen.
may have some amphetamine.
Yep.
He's Hep C positive.
Okay. All right, Ethan, as you know, I wear a body camera, okay? Listen, I'm asking Is there any needles on you right now I need to know about?
I just have this.
What is it? Okay. No needles this time? Okay. All right. When's the last time that you used?
I used like 4 months ago.
Okay. Can you tell me about when did you wake up today?
I haven't been able to sleep for days.
Okay. When's the last time you slept?
It's been a while.
Okay. You think you can keep your hand in your pocket for me? I'm just gonna pat you down, okay?
Yep.
Okay. Is this your tobacco?
Yep.
I'll put it in your backpack. I'll put a little stuff in your backpack, okay? All right, just keep breathing, man. Stay relaxed. Focus on taking deep, slow breaths. Okay. Exhale every time.
Yep.
All right. You're gonna be okay. Ambulance is coming, all right?
Hey, what's going on? I have chest pain really bad in my esophagus area, and I need to the hospital station right now.
Stay relaxed. Stay relaxed. Okay. You're not going anywhere until I get your pocket checked out. Okay.
Oh,
You under the influence of anything?
maybe I'm not sure.
Okay. What do you think you might be
I
under?
don't know. I just need mental help and I need medical assistance. Oh.
Nah.
Oh.
Okay. All right, we'll get you checked out.
Can I please get to the hospital?
Yep.
Just roll on the other side.
I'd like to go in the ambulance.
Yep, I know, man. I know.
Oh. Oh.
I might have to strap in so you don't fall
You want to bring the stretcher down or
Yeah.
strap him in? Let's go ahead and get your jacket off so they can get you in the stretcher and check your vitals, okay? Ethan, make sure you're honest with them about what you used and when, okay?
Okay, all right, I will.
All right? They're not gonna tell me,
All right.
okay? You tell them though,
All right, I
okay?
will.
Yep, don't
Thank
forget
you.
to tell them, Ethan.
I will. I will. Ah.
You got the other parts of that one hitter?
No, that's the only piece.
Okay.
Nothing else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, don't put all that in your backpack.
All right. Come on, boss.
Oh.
Come on, Ethan. Yep.
There you go. Put these with your backpack, okay?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Can I have my boot back, sir, please?
Yeah, they're gonna put it in with the ambulance, okay? We gotta take your shoes off for now.
All right.
I'll take care of it.
Here. Here's this hat.
I don't think I want shoulder strap.
They're
gonna have to strap you down, boss.
You don't want to fall out if you're having a hallucination.
I'm having pain. It's bad chest pain in my
Okay,
head right now.
okay.
Ethan, do you want this bag to go down? You want me to keep it for now till you come get it?
I'd like it to go with me.
Okay. You okay if I look through it before we put it in the ambulance?
I don't mind.
Okay.
All right, Ethan, tell him everything, okay? You said he's
Get back here! Stop! Ethan! Ethan, stop! Ethan, stop! Stop! I'm trying to get in, bro. Stop! Stop! Calm down, dude. Calm down. You know I don't fuck with you, right?
Yeah.
Do I fuck with you?
No, I fuck with you. No. I'm always with you, bro.
They have rules here, okay?
No, I'm always with you.
You remember coronavirus going on? Look, you just ran, dude, okay? Calm down.
I didn't run.
You just ran, dude.
Oh, because
You're falling out, dude. You're not having a heart attack, okay?
I am.
You're okay. You just ran like a mule.
I didn't run. I ran before.
Dude, I know you're freaking out, okay? I'm not mad at you for I'm saying that's a good sign, okay?
Yeah.
You're breathing. Look at your heart's working, right?
Yeah, but
Okay, so you remember coronavirus going on, right?
yeah.
They have rules in the hospital, keep everybody
Yeah.
safe.
All right.
Before you can go inside, they have to talk to you,
Okay.
right?
Yes, sir.
Stay calm.
I'm sorry.
We're here.
Okay, I'm just
You're gonna be
having
okay.
palpitations.
I know you're gonna be okay. All right?
Can I be brought in the ER door right there where the ER is?
Where we're going. Yeah. Can you walk?
Yes, sir.
You're gonna run?
No.
All right, be calm, okay?
Yeah.
You're all right.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. I have a bad heart. And I'm having a heart attack. And I feel like
You're gonna behave for us. From Dr. Seafield, okay? We need you to relax.
okay.
come with me. Come on.
Hey, Doc.
Ethan, I gotta go, okay? Police department. Ethan, it's Officer Yao. You okay? Ethan, what's going on? Ethan.
Fucking suicidal dead.
Hey, what's...
There's feces everywhere. I need you to call the cops, the paramedics, to get me a fucking rescue team right now.
Ethan, it's Officer Yao from Thornton Police.
Yes, come in here and get me to the hospital.
What's going on?
I have a fucking asshole that's bleeding out like a chicken, and I have a goddamn fucking mouth that's full of feces, and I have a dick that's hard, that's not hard, that's fucking hard.
Do you have any weapons on you right now?
Yeah, let's go.
Hey, what do you got?
My dick in my hand. You got a problem with that, bitch?
Hey, it's Officer Yao, dude. What's going on? Hey, you know me.
Suck my fucking dick.
Hey, you know me, dude. What's going on?
You're a cunt.
Hey, Ethan. Ethan, drop that. Ethan. 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 Thornton 3, he is naked and threatening my life. Ethan. I am the police. You know me.
Let's talk 6, copy that.
I just saw you this morning, dude. Well, why am I going to bring the paramedics then? Hey, man. Hey. You don't hear me talking to you like that.
What's the road off 175, Mountain Laurel or
Ethan.
Mountainside?
I am the cops.
I'm not okay.
Don't be like this, dude.
Woodland
Hey,
Road.
I want to help you.
What? I don't care what you want.
I want to help you.
Cunt faggot ass fucking queer Asian bitch.
Ethan, come on.
What was the update?
Paramedics now.
I did call the paramedics.
That he is threatening
Yeah,
PD.
but they're not going to come over here if you're being like this.
And 10-5, I'll be
Ethan, Ethan,
Where is it?
Ethan, stay in there. Ethan,
3, I'm out.
stay in there. Ethan, Ethan, stay back. Ethan, stay back. Stay back. Ethan, stay back. Ethan, stay back. Ethan, shots fired. Shots fired.
Body camera video shows a police officer releasing a police dog on an unarmed black man after he surrendered following a high-speed chase. Jeff Kirsch has the details, and we should warn you, what you're about to see is disturbing.
Do not let them, don't release the dog.
The warning from state to local police came again and again.
Do not release the dog with his hands up.
His hands clearly in the air, 23-year-old Jadarius D. Rose, an unarmed black man, was still mauled by a police dog.
Hey, do not get the dog off of me. Get the dog off of me.
The Ohio State Highway Patrol says the disturbing July 4th incident came after an attempted traffic stop. Police attempting to pull Rose over for driving this semi-truck, missing a left rear mud flap.
Not sure what his problem is.
When Rose refused to stop, police chased him for nearly 30 minutes before he stopped and exited the vehicle.
No driver on the phone right now.
According to authorities, Rose called 911 himself and got out of the semi unarmed with his hands raised.
Come to me. You don't want bit. On the ground. You're gonna get bit. Come to me, man.
But state police say a dog was still unleashed by Circleville canine officer Ryan Speakman.
Buddy, nobody's trying to hurt you.
You just let a dog bite me.
Authorities say Rose was treated at a local medical center and charged with failure to comply with order or signal of police officer, a felony of the 4th degree.
That an officer would unleash a dog on a black man that had his hands in the air and was on his knees. We were mortified by that behavior.
Tonight, records show Rose is out of jail. He and his attorney are declining to comment. Here in Circleville, the police department has not made anyone available for an interview despite us asking for one. The department also will not say if the canine officer in question is still on active duty. All of this as state police say that the incident remains under investigation. Kate?
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC.
Sentencing day for a teenager who shot and killed his own mom and 3 of his siblings in a horrific crime. The judge gave CJ, or Colin Jeffrey Haney, the maximum sentence.
News specialist Dan Rascone was in the courtroom. He joins us now live. So, Dan, how long will he be spending in prison?
CJ Haney was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for all 5 counts, 4 of those counts running consecutively. So that's 100+ years there. Prosecutors saying he does not deserve to see the light of day again.
I thought if I killed my dad, everyone would turn against me. So I made a selfish decision to kill them all.
Prosecutors cutting right to the core of the horrific crime caused by this clean-cut, well-dressed young man. CJ, or Colin Jeffrey Haney, was just 16 years old in January of 2020 when he shot and killed his own mother and 3 of his siblings, one by one, in a horrific murder case.
This was not a single incident mass murder. This wasn't walking into a school or McDonald's and just unloading your gun. This was planned, it was methodical, it was 4 separate instances over a 5-hour period separated by 1 to 2 hours.
Prosecutors saying that's why Haney doesn't deserve to see the light of day again.
This is not a rehabilitation case. It's a punishment deterrence case. Someone who murders 4 people, including 3 children that he knew and cared about, should never be free.
Haney's attorney pleaded for mercy, playing a video of Haney's graduation, saying he is a changed man and all counts should be served concurrently, which would be just 25 years to life.
The juvenile offender has demonstrated maturity and rehabilitation sufficient to merit a chance at life beyond the prison.
In a surprising move, Haney's own brother, who happened to not be home that day, said this all could have been avoided had his brother gotten help, and blamed his own dad, Colin, for not acting sooner.
He was robbed by not getting proper help, and while he might not blame Colin anymore for anything, I do. Because this could have been prevented. And that the defendant, Willard Noble Chayton Miller, should be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 35 years.
That's 17-year-old Willard Miller being sentenced to life in prison for the murder of his Spanish teacher, Noema Graber, who he killed because of a bad grade. We highlight the victim impact statements and talk to the prosecutor who helped put him behind bars.
Introducing the next generation of pepper spray. Meet Palm, a new maximum strength self-defense product with a patented modular design, revolutionizing the self-defense industry. Whether you're carrying the unit on your keys, snapping the unit on your backpack, your keychain, or carrying the unit in your pocket, Palm is the perfect everyday carry accessory. Palm's patented flip-top safety prevents any accidental misfire, and its maximum strength formula provides you with the necessary range.
Hello and welcome to Crime Watch Daily Updates. I'm your host, Anna Garcia. Cameron Thor was a hotshot Hollywood acting coach, and Jordan Liddell wanted nothing more than to make it big in the industry. She was 13 years old when
Ryan was the most laid back, easy guy you'd ever meet. He was a very good lawyer. Carried himself like a professional. It was always important to Ryan to carry yourself.
Looks mattered to Ryan Poston, a young Cincinnati lawyer.
You always have to look professional. You have to look like a lawyer. He thought that it was important.
And looks mattered to his new girlfriend, Shayna Hubers, a college student across the river in Kentucky.
Shayna Hubers is a very talented woman. She got through school in 3 years. She had a scholarship in music. She had a lot going for her.
He added her as a Facebook friend after he saw some photos from her from spring break. Shayna is a very pretty girl. You know, that's undisputed. And he saw something that he liked looking at, I guess.
For Shayna, this relationship was everything. And having Ryan on her arm sure looked good. Telling people that she was dating this 29-year-old attorney who had his own firm in Cincinnati sure sounded good.
They dated on and off for more than 18 months, leaving a trail of text messages that documented a very rocky, on again, off again, obsessive relationship, replete with jealousy and deceit and rage. A relationship that would end with Ryan Poston dead on his apartment floor and Shayna Hubers on trial for murder.
I grabbed the gun and I shot him.
In the days leading up to his murder, Ryan was pulling away.
I thought that she was clingy. I thought she was a girlfriend that couldn't let go. He didn't want to hurt her feelings. He wanted her nicely to go away.
She communicated to her friends that she was losing him, that she thought it could be real this time.
We found countless instances where Shayna Hubers would show up at his apartment, somehow get in, and be laying naked on the couch when he came home from work. And Brian just wasn't that into her. She tried everything she could from a sexual perspective to get that interest. It just wasn't working. He had finally found the strength to say he was done. Business was good. His friends were good. And he had a new love interest. That's what sent her over the edge.
A former Miss Ohio, Audrey Bolte.
Ohio.
On the night he would die, Ryan and Audrey were supposed to go on their first date.
I think Shayna Hubers would have been upset if Ryan Poston was dating anybody else. But when you throw into the mix the fact that this was a beauty queen, I think that really sent her off. She had downloaded a picture of Audrey when she became Miss Ohio, downloaded that onto her computer just hours before Ryan was shot and killed.
It all came to a head just after 8 o'clock on a Friday night at Ryan Poston's apartment in the Cincinnati suburb of Highland Heights, Kentucky.
Campbell County 911. Oh, I killed my boyfriend in self-defense. Okay, hold on. What did you kill him with? A loaded gun in the house. Can you tell me where the gun is right now? The gun is in the house. I laid it on the bookshelf. Where are you? I'm standing about 10 feet from his dead body. Okay, are you sure that he is dead? He's dead, ma'am. He's completely dead.
We later found out that she had called her mother first. She made the statement that she waited 15 minutes to call the police. I don't know what would have happened had she stopped right then and called 911. He may have still had a chance.
I'm not a murderer, man. I just killed him. What happened exactly? What happened? He beat me and carried me out of the house. He didn't. He tried. He beat me and tried to carry me out of the house, and I came back in to get my things, and he was right in front of me, and he reached down and grabbed the gun, and I grabbed it out of his hand and pulled the trigger. Okay. All right. Do you need an ambulance? Have you been injured? I'm not injured, ma'am. I was thrown into the side of the couch. Okay. Have you had a history of domestic violence with him? Yes. So he slammed you into the couch, but you don't have any injuries? I don't have any injuries. I was just very frightened. He's a lot bigger than me. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. I'm 5'8", 120. He threw me across the room, and I was very startled. I was laying on the floor. Okay. And I killed him.
And then the call ended with this astounding admission from Shayna Hubers.
And then because he was twitching and I knew he was going to die anyway, and he was making funny noises, I shot him a couple more times just to kill him because I knew he would have been. Yeah, I'm sorry, you said you shot him a couple more times after that? Yeah. How many times did you shoot him total? I don't know. Okay. Because he was twitching and you knew he was going to die, so you shot him again? I had to make sure he was dead because he was twitching so bad. I called I just lay there and twitch. So you shot him instead of calling 911? I did because I knew he was going to die anyway.
Shayna Hubers was not done yet. What would happen in this interview room would either clinch her guilt or prove she acted out of self-defense or was so emotionally disturbed that she could not be convicted of murder.
Your name is Shayna.
Shayna Huber.
Your right to remain silent. Anything you say can always be used against you in a court of law.
After giving her Miranda, she said that she wanted an attorney, and I pretty much quit asking her questions. She started talking.
I don't have any serious injuries that I could have had.
Right.
And I shot him in self-defense because he's done stuff before where I've hit my head on the headboard and could have died.
She didn't like to be in there by herself. She wanted someone there the whole time to hear her side of the story, to hear her talk.
It's really messed up that
we had to get into a physical fight, and then this had to happen, you know. And if I could go back and go over again, I would rather have my head beat into the coffee table.
We were obviously ready to listen and wanted both sides of it. And, you know, at this point, did we have enough information to know if there had been a past of any type of abuse? That night, we didn't know that.
And he had put his arm across the table and had it in my face and was screaming at me at the top of his lungs after he had thrown me around the room. And was saying emotionally to me, "You're a fucking hillbilly. I fucking hate you. I hate your fucking Eastern Kentucky accent. I hate your mother. I hate everything about you for what you are."
At one point, she said he picked her up and threw her across the room.
He was throwing
And threw her out the door. You know, there's going to be some red marking, some kind of bruising, something that would indicate there was some struggle. There was nothing like that in this case.
And her account of a struggle in the apartment did not match the crime scene photos.
Nothing was disturbed on the table. The bookcase had bullets standing on end, had pipes, like smoking pipes, had books. Nothing knocked over.
It was like this.
And then Shayna began to recount her version of Ryan's final moments.
It went like this. Literally. That's when I knew he was dead. Or close to it and twitching.
I was in a back room with Chief Birkenauer listening. To the words that she said. And I continued to find myself shocked by the harshness of her words, kind of a flippant nature.
Shot it once and didn't shoot again for a while. But I was watching him die. It was so painful to watch him die and to know that I had done that. That I just walked around the table and shot him where I knew he would die immediately.
Bill and I turned to each other and said, did we really just hear that? Did she really just say that? Over the years, I've seen people who have been in shock. I've never had anybody tell me that someone pirouettes when they're in shock, that someone sings when they're in shock, that somebody snaps their fingers and says, I did it, when they're in shock.
I did. Yes, I did.
She was desperate to tell her story, to have people hear her side. She wanted to get that all out there. And I really think in her mind, Shayna thought that everybody would just buy it, that none of us were smart enough
to see beyond the facade.
For prosecutor Michelle Snodgrass, it seemed like a slam dunk case of murder. And at first, that's just what happened.
Sentenced to 40 years for killing her boyfriend. His name was Ryan Poston.
Shayna Hubers guilty of murdering her boyfriend, Ryan Poston. The jury recommends 40 years. An emotional
40 years for killing her boyfriend. His name was Ryan Poston.
Shayna Hubers guilty of murdering her boyfriend, Ryan Poston. The jury recommends 40 years. An emotional day for the family of the man shot to death.
But less than a year later, a crushing blow.
Well, it was discovered that there was a juror who had sat on our first jury who had previously been convicted of a felony offense. Under the law in Kentucky, if you have a prior felony conviction, you are excluded from serving on a jury.
Shayna Hubers' conviction was overturned, and the judge ordered a new trial.
There was disappointment on our part, but the real struggle for us was the pain for Ryan's family. That closure was torn away from them, that peace of mind was torn away from them, and that they were going to have to undo whatever healing they had done and live it all again.
At the Kentucky jail where she had begun serving her 40-year sentence, Shayna Hubers was jubilant. Now she had a new chance to tell her story, a new chance for freedom.
This was her last chance. We had no idea what direction her defense was going to go. We had no idea what she might take the stand and say. We knew all bets were off.
There's a big river separating northern Kentucky from Cincinnati.
You will find on juries here, as opposed to possibly over the river in a bigger city, that people believe in more traditional values. People expect people to conduct themselves in a certain way.
All rise.
But there would be nothing traditional in this trial.
To is now such, Honorable Dan Zala presiding. Please be seated.
Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Shayna Hubers, 12 CR 954.
Including graphic testimony about the couple's sex life.
Okay, at this time, the court calls upon the Commonwealth to commence opening statement.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Ryan Poston was alive for each of the 6 shots that Shayna Hubers pumped into his body. He was alive when she shot him here, 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 and here. And he was alone, except for the woman standing over him, gun in hand. His murder. Her.
Shayna's young, she's attractive, she's articulate, she's well-dressed. The jury walks in and they see this girl and they might not think, looking at her, that she's capable of something like this. And that's why it was so crucial to give them the picture of who she really is.
You're going to come to see that she is jealous and she is calculated. And most of all, ladies and gentlemen, she is manipulative. Someone who would go to the ends of the earth to get her way. Because in her world, what Shayna wants, Shayna gets. And what she wanted more than anything in 2012 was Ryan Poston. There were only 2 ways he was leaving his condo that night. Either as Shayna's boyfriend or in a body bag.
For the new trial, Shayna's family hired a new lawyer.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
David Eldridge of Knoxville, Tennessee, with a new strategy that did not rely on self-defense, but instead on her state of mind that night.
Our approach was to focus more on the extreme emotional disturbance. Kentucky's murder statute says if you kill someone, intent to kill them, that it's murder unless it's done under extreme emotional disturbance for which there's a reasonable cause.
I knew it was already done. It was already done.
For Shayna Hubers, a last chance to plead her case. If the jury believed her, she could be convicted of manslaughter instead of murder and be out of prison in a few years.
We were running a manslaughter defense, yes.
You'll hear terms like borderline personality, post-traumatic stress disorder.
psychological outcomes and how those are expressed in her experience and behavior.
And Shayna Huber's defense lawyer painted a much different, darker picture of Ryan Poston than the jury had heard from the prosecution, feeling the stress of his job the night he was killed.
He is in a very dark mood. He is very upset. Not too long after she arrives, he lights into her verbally, critical of everything there is to be critical of her about. Her mother, her family, her education, where she's from, her appearance, comments to her. Verbal assault. And you will hear about how he looked, how his eyes were frightening, scary, dark. Burst out the door, physically attacks her. First slams her arm into the door, physically attacks her. We believe the evidence would show you that Miss Hughes is not guilty of this trial. That she was privileged to act in self-protection. She was acting under extreme pressure and stress.
The prosecution began with the disturbing evidence of the crime scene, Ryan Poston's bloodied undershirt, and testimony from the officer on the scene, David Fornash, who said he saw no evidence inside the apartment.
What would you have expected to see if there was a struggle over top of the table?
I would have seen things knocked off the table and knocked over on the table.
Was it?
No, ma'am.
Was anything knocked over?
No, ma'am.
One last question. At any point in time, when you were with Miss Hickert, did you see tears?
No, ma'am.
Nothing further.
But for the prosecution, there was no stronger evidence than the video made of Shayna Hubers in the police station that night, played for the jury on the very first day. They saw her dancing, her singing, her admissions.
Yes, I did.
Her lawyers tried to put the best face on it, saying it supported the theory of emotional disturbance.
I think it's just bizarre behavior brought on by the stress of what she's gone through and her own psychological condition.
Even so,
Didn't want to watch him die.
Any defense lawyer would tell you that they would just as soon their client not have talked on a videotape
It was already done. It was already done.
for 3 hours after the event. No defense lawyer would say that was a good idea.
Your Honor, may we continue?
on day 2, the prosecution called one of Shayna's girlfriends, Dr. Christy Euler, a dentist with whom Shayna exchanged some damning text messages about Ryan.
Ryan's been begging me to ask if you could do his veneers. But please F them up and make him ugly so he'll never get another girl. I hate him.
And what is the next exchange between yourself and Miss Hubers?
When I go to the shooting range with Ryan tonight, I want to turn around, shoot and kill him, and play like it's an accident.
When the prosecution called the former Miss Ohio, Audrey Bolte, to testify, she described the relationship with Ryan as just developing beyond Facebook friends.
Did you ever meet Ryan Poston in person?
No.
Based on cyber communications, how did he strike you?
Funny and smart.
To be frank, I think that Miss Ohio was called as a slap in the face to Shayna. I think they did it to get under Shayna Huber's skin. I really do.
Mr. Alden, please proceed with cross-examination.
Shayna Huber's lawyer used the beauty queen's testimony to show how Ryan was two-timing Shayna.
Do you recall that he told you that he had plans to watch the vice presidential debate with his parents?
Yes.
Now, did he tell you that he was also watching the debate with his girlfriend?
Our position at trial was that he was sending a lot of mixed signals as to what his desires were in terms of a relationship with Shayna Hubers. She had been invited to his parents' home which she took as a signal that their relationship was going to move forward. And that obviously is not what he had in mind, apparently.
And for this second trial, the prosecution had a dramatic new witness, a salesperson at a local mall where Shayna had gone shopping in the hours before she shot Ryan Poston, appearing to be upset.
Did you learn by listening what that individual was upset about?
She found out her friend was seeing somebody else. She was just very, very upset, and she was kind of saying how she was going to kill him multiple times.
She said, please, I was talking over you.
Multiple times.
The prosecution closed its case with testimony from women who had been cellmates in jail with Shayna Hubers and said she admitted making up a story that Ryan had raped and physically abused her.
What did she tell you?
About rape and abuse. That it didn't happen.
Now, Shayna Hubers and her lawyer, David Eldridge, had to make a big decision. Should Shayna take the stand the following morning?
Shayna Hubers wanted to testify, and that's her absolute right to do so.
But if she did, prosecutors would be ready with an aggressive cross-examination. The defense of Shayna Hubers started strong, with neighbors who lived in Ryan Poston's apartment complex,
Would you raise your right hand?
and helped to back up Shayna's claim that she had been abused months before by Ryan.
This summer, she came to my door and was crying, and so I let her in. And she had like a red mark on her arm, right in here, maybe about the size of a handprint.
Okay.
And I said, what happened? And she said that she had gotten into an argument with Ryan, and he picked her up and threw her down in the hallway out of his condo. I told her that she needed to call the police.
Central to the defense case was a diagnosis that Shayna Hubers, for all her talents and charm and beauty, suffered from a borderline personality disorder, a diagnosis delivered by psychologist Dr. Thomas Schack.
My opinion is that at the time she shot Mr. Poston in 2012, Ms. Hubers' psychological condition was seriously abnormal.
And you also learn that the effects of borderline personality disorder are most intense in the early to mid 20s. And so she was at a particularly vulnerable time in her life.
Okay, your next witness.
In order to run that defense,
Time. I call Shayna Hubers.
it was, for all practical purposes, necessary for Ms. Shayna Hubers to testify.
Now, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the statements and testimony you give at this trial will be true and correct? Yes. Thank you.
Ms. Hubers? Are you nervous?
Yes,
Get any sleep last night?
not at all.
I don't think I was surprised that Shayna testified because we knew that she had to try something different.
And for the defense strategy to work, to prove she shot Ryan Poston 6 times because of an emotional disturbance, she had to testify about the most intimate issues in their troubled relationship, what reporters came to call the orgasm defense.
There were continued issues throughout the relationship about the issue of orgasm.
And how did you respond to that?
I tried to please Ryan to the best of my ability.
How so?
He wanted to try different things, and he ordered different things off the internet to help me achieve orgasm.
It was something we just had to talk about. She obviously knew that would have to be a part of our discussion. It was not something that she relished by any stretch of imagination. It was not something I relished, talking to a group of strangers about such personal things.
Was there any other thing that Mr. Poston encouraged you to do in relation to your ability to orgasm?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
He wanted me to obtain a G-shot injection inside of my vagina, and I'm sure nobody knows what that is. I didn't know what it was. It's a collagen injection inside of your G-shot, inside of your body.
There is no doubt that they tried to imply that Ryan had been emotionally abusive to Shayna. There is no doubt that's where they were going.
He screamed at me, "You're a up person, and you're a up person because you were touched when you were a little girl, and that's why you can't orgasm, and that's why I can't love you, and that's why no one will ever be able to love you."
And then her dramatic version of what happened that night at Ryan Poston's apartment, a violent argument over breaking up.
I remember trying to stand up where I was sitting on the floor, and Ryan pushed me back down by my chest. He put his hand on my chest and pushed me back down onto the floor. And I was crying, and I was hysterically crying, and I recall Ryan standing over me and grabbing the gun that was sitting on the table and pointing it at me and saying, "I could just kill you right now and get away with it. Nobody would even know."
How did you react to that?
I was shocked. I was afraid. I didn't understand what I had done to deserve any of this.
Okay. Tell the ladies and gentlemen, the jury, what happened.
He set the gun back down on the table, and he walked around the table, and he was still talking, and he was still saying hurtful things. I don't remember exactly what. And he was standing up from the chair, and he was reaching across the table, and I don't know if he was reaching for the gun or reaching for me, but I was still sitting on the floor at this point in time. And I got up off the floor, and I grabbed the gun, and I shot him.
Yeah, she could play a part for the jurors, for the judge, for the TV cameras.
And Commonwealth Attorney Michelle Snodgrass was ready for the cross-examination.
Well, we prepped for years for Shayna Hubers to be cross-examined.
We had spent 7 years. 7 years we had been pouring through this material. Michelle, Cheryl, and I, and Bill Birkenauer knew this case so well that no matter which direction they went, I knew that we would have something to fight.
And it kind of all culminates in that one moment when you actually have the ability to cross-examine the murderer.
Hard for you, isn't it true, ma'am, when things end in a way that you don't want them to?
Sure, that's difficult for me.
Using some of the thousands of text messages between Shayna Hubers and Ryan Poston to challenge the claims that Ryan was the sexual aggressor.
If you would read those messages. What was the reason that you gave Mr. Poston for asking him to initiate sex with you?
I said I didn't want to force myself on him.
Any more? Was that also on there?
Yes.
Yeah, any more? You didn't want to have to force yourself.
Actually, Judge, to repeat
I'm
this.
sorry, I was withdrawn. Thank you, ma'am.
And another from Ryan to Shayna to show he was not the callous brute she had described.
What did he say? Tell the jury what he said to you.
I know you did, and I really appreciate all of it, but it really makes it that much more apparent to me that you should probably be pursuing a relationship with one of those guys you were telling me about a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
It is always nerve-wracking to have a client be cross-examined, no matter the circumstances.
Especially when the questions turn to that tape of Shayna Hubers in the police interrogation room and her disturbing attempt at humor over the bullet she fired into Ryan's face.
And I will never forget when she said that she gave him the nose job that he always wanted.
He's very vain. One of our last conversations we had that was good was that he wants my best friend who's a dentist to do his veneers and wants to get a nose job. Just that kind of person. And I shot him right here. I gave him his nose job he wanted.
Nothing with Shayna surprises me. Any chance to be heard?
I think there are true people that are sociopaths that have no concern, no empathy for anyone else. And that's what I thought I was looking at.
The prosecution wanted to show she was coherent throughout, hardly crazed or out of her mind.
I don't think that what I did was necessarily, like, completely wrong, you know?
I'm not saying that my statements weren't coherent. I'm saying my mindset wasn't completely coherent.
But there were some things throughout the course of your statement that were consistent.
Okay.
And seeing him twitch and it being painful for you was one of those things that was consistent and said by you over and over again.
I said that.
And because you didn't want to watch him die, you shot him more times, in your words, to the point where you knew he was dead.
I said those things.
Is that similar? To what people do when they see an injured animal?
Objection. Sustained.
Withdrawn, Your Honor.
Please
And nothing
disregard
further.
that question.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
She treated him no better than roadkill, shot him and put him out of his misery.
All rise. Kent County Circuit Division 2 is now in session.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we will be closing arguments, and by rule, the defendant goes first.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have told you the truth about Shayna Hubers. Good, bad, embarrassing, humiliating.
Certainly, we wanted them to go into the jury room thinking that Shayna Hubers acted that night under an extreme emotional disturbance for which there was a reasonable cause.
Degrading her own self-worth. I can't love you. No one can love you. You can't orgasm because you were touched as a child, and no one will ever love you. At that time, physical, verbal assault on Ms. Hubers. And it's against that backdrop that they end up on opposite sides of this table with a gun on the table.
Shayna's condition combined with Mr. Poston's actions combined to create that extreme emotional disturbance, and thus she was not guilty of murder.
Ms. Snodgrass?
Yes, Your Honor. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. He's burning in hell, and it feels good. Those are her words, not ours. Shayna Hubers has proven herself over and over and over and over again to not be trustworthy with her actions or her words. She will lie to get what she wants, just like what she said before. I'll go to the ends of the earth to accomplish my goal. She shot him in the head. What kind of a person is it that raises the gun again and aims and fires again? And if celebrating Ryan's death isn't enough to show you that she danced, that she came from evil or malicious purposes, how about this? I did it. I did it. I don't know what could sound more malicious than that. The celebration of taking another person's life.
My job was to make sure that the jury knew that once we cleared out all the lies, and once we focused on Shayna's words, the crime scene, and the history in this relationship, that they would see that there was no other choice but murder.
The trial had lasted 10 days, but the jury took only 5 hours to return a verdict.
Probably would have felt better if they were out longer.
We were beyond nervous, sick to our stomachs. Anything other than a murder conviction would have been a devastating defeat.
All right, so very good.
Is what you have the jury's verdict in your hand?
Yes.
Okay, would you give that to the bailiff, please? Thank you. Okay, verdict form. We, the jury, find the defendant, Shayna Hubers, guilty of murder under instruction number 5, signed by the foreperson.
But the real drama was yet to come.
When the murder conviction came back, that was great and all, but that was just the first hurdle. Now it was time for sentencing.
In Kentucky, when an individual is found guilty of murder, they can be sentenced to 20 to 50 years or life imprisonment. That was the range that the jury was given.
And prosecutors felt anything less than the 40 years she had received in the first trial would be a defeat.
We all agreed life was the goal this time. Not a murder conviction, not 40 years. It was life this time.
And prosecutors called Ryan Poston's family, his sister and parents, to make sure the jurors understood the grief and emotion that his family still felt, even years after he was murdered.
Are you related to Ryan?
Ryan's my brother.
Explain to the jury what you have with you.
Because I'm 30 years old, I don't need to bring a teddy bear up with me. This teddy bear was made by Jay's sister. This is Ryan's shirt.
I'm sorry, but I'm unavailable right now. If you could leave a message, I will call you back as soon as possible. Thank you.
That's it. That's all we have on voicemail.
It is daunting to know that I've got another 30 or 40 years on this earth, God willing. I'll have another 35 or 40 Christmases without my son. I had my grandchildren stolen from me. I will never hold my grandchildren. She has decimated my life and many other lives. Ryan had a heart of gold. His goodness literally got him killed. His kindness got him killed.
Understandable emotions from both sides for the Poston family and for her and her mother. In particular, I still remember her mother just in agony on the stand, pleading for her daughter, as any parent would.
Ms. Hubers, go ahead.
Shayna, as I said, is my only child. My child's life has also been taken. Her family also grieves. I'm not lessening or taking away from or trying to say that I don't understand the grief of this family, because I do. Both beautiful young people, both talented.
Thank you, Ms. Hubers.
Again, it only took the jury a few hours to reach a decision.
And do you have the verdict form? Yes. Would you please give it to the bailiff? Thank you. We, the jury, fix the defendant, Shayna Hubers' punishment for the offense of murder at life imprisonment. Signed by the foreperson.
That was what this was all about. That simple word, life. When the jury came back and they read the recommended sentence of life, that simple word was a moment that I don't think many people in this courtroom will forget. There were tears, there were hugs, and there was gratitude.
So was there justice?
How do you get justice for a life that was taken far too early?
There is no satisfaction. You think there's some kind of relief for it. There's no relief. This is going to sound harsh, but I hope her day today is worse than it was yesterday, and I hope tomorrow is worse than it is today. She took a friend of mine for no reason at all. There'd be no penalty severe enough for there to be justice.
Dawson and Callan were face down on the floor. Cora was on her side with her torso turned toward the floor. He removed the bands and begged them to breathe. He continued uncontrollably and screamed for officers to come to the basement. The dispatchers are hearing this and they send help down to the basement. And when they encounter Patrick, he yells out, "Killed the kids."
We're learning more gruesome details about the murders of 3 young Massachusetts children as their mother, Lindsay Clancy, is charged in their deaths. In Clancy's first court appearance since the murders,
in Idaho today, the mother of Tylee Ryan and Joshua J.J. Vallow is expected to be sentenced for their murders. In May, Lori Vallow Daybell was convicted of killing the 16-year-old and 7-year-old and conspiring to kill the first wife of her husband, Chad Daybell. The children's remains were found on Chad Daybell's property in 2020, 9 months after they disappeared. Prosecutors say the Daybells used end-of-times beliefs, including talk of zombies, to justify their crimes. Chad Daybell is still awaiting trial. And our Jonathan Vigliotti is at the courthouse in St. Anthony, Idaho. Jonathan, good morning.
And good morning to you, Natalie. The fate of
Answer: guilty.
More than 2 months after an Idaho jury of 7 men and 5 women found Lori Vallow Daybell guilty on all charges, including first-degree murders of her 2 youngest children.
Answer: guilty.
Judge Stephen Boyce will decide if Vallow Daybell will spend the rest of her life behind bars.
There was some doubt we would get all of them, all guilty, but we did it.
Among the 3 family members expected to give victim impact statements in court, Kay Woodcock, the grandmother of J.J. Vallow. She and Larry Woodcock sat through the entire 4-week trial.
Like, you're really going to have to survive like some Walking Dead.
Colby Ryan, Vallow Daybell's only surviving child, will also give a statement. He took the stand in April and described Vallow Daybell as being a loving and supportive mother for much of his life. The courtroom heard this extremely tense jailhouse phone call between the two.
You ripped my heart out, and you ripped out everyone in this family's heart out.
And Summer Shiflett, Vallow Daybell's sister, whose jailhouse call sent chills throughout the courtroom.
I know you've told me about a lot of your spiritual experiences. There's nothing okay about killing children.
I don't think that the victim impact statements are probably going to change the sentencing too much from maybe what Judge Boyce was thinking of.
Tennille Brown is a law professor at the University of Utah. She says the judge will likely lean
Kay and Larry Woodcock, thank you so much for joining us. Here we are back where it all started in Rexburg, Idaho. How you guys feeling?
That's a momentary question. Right now, we look forward to tomorrow. We look forward to seeing inmate
Daybell
in jail clothes.
Yeah.
We hope that the sentence is a righteous sentence, and I'm ready to turn the lock on that post office box and leave it locked.
Those are all facts. That's what our concern is. Of course, we want protection and treat respectfully anyone who's a whistleblower. And no one on our side has publicly or in this committee criticized Ms. Newbold. But the process is not how this committee is supposed to operate. And that's our concern. I yield back to the gentleman from Michigan.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Ms. Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important that we refocus on what is at stake here in this investigation, in this matter. We are getting reports from the press and from a wide variety of sources that indicate that, that people are, folks are suggesting that we are conducting foreign relations with folks with security clearances via WhatsApp. I mean, every day that we go on without getting to the bottom of this matter is a day that we are putting hundreds, if not potentially thousands of Americans at risk. I mean, really, what is next? Putting nuclear codes in Instagram DMs? This is ridiculous. We need to get to the bottom of this. And in order to do that, we have to issue subpoenas because people in this administration are not cooperating. And every day that there is an insecure line of communication that could be leaked, that could be hacked, that could be screenshotted without our proper channels is a day that we are putting our national security at risk. So the reason why we have to conduct and have these accommodations is because we are a committee that is committed to protecting whistleblowers. And I do have to commend the ranking member and to see the coordination between the ranking member and the chair in a commitment to whistleblowers, not just in respecting them, but in protecting them is really admirable and important. And I wanted to note that because this is what protecting whistleblowers looks like. When they need a certain accommodation because they fear retaliation, we have to make accommodations. This committee in particular, as the oversight committee in the House of Representatives, we have a unique responsibility to protect those that have the courage to come out and say when something is wrong, regardless of the administration. Even in prior administrations, it doesn't matter the party. When something is going wrong in government, when there is overreach, when there is an abuse or a misconduct of process, we have an obligation to see and investigate it out. And so it is so serious, especially as a New Yorker, especially as anyone who cares about the security of what happens on American soil. Every day that we have an insecure line of communication, we have a responsibility to investigate it and to make sure that that we get to the bottom of it. So I just needed to put that note in, and I yield the
Gentlelady yields.
Chair. Yes.
Yields back. Who seeks recognition?
Mr. Chairman.
For what purpose is Mr. Jordan seek recognized?
Strike the last word, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman is recognized
Thank you,
for
Mr.
5
Chairman.
minutes.
Just want to respond to the subcommittee chair from California. If the Democrats don't want to debate immigration policy in a reconciliation